That is a job where you must just hire the best qualified people.
You can't just if you're
hiring people for their disabilities as opposed to their abilities, we're in big trouble. So I don't think he said it lightly. So I think that's a massive story. I think Nigel Farage's fury over the cancellation of 13 local elections.
Yeah, indeed.
That's an attack on democracy. I think that's a massive story. We'll be doing that. We'll be talking about 2 tiers, new border immigration.
And will that work? Well, that's all coming up with Kevin on the other side of news. I'll be back tomorrow at 4. See you then.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
There you are. Good evening and welcome to the Political Asylum right here on Talk all the way to 10 o'clock. Stand by for 3 thrilling hours of news, views and dazzling debate. There's a lot to talk about tonight, so get on the phone and call me on 0344 499 1000. Or you can WhatsApp voice note me on the same number and I promise to play your message out. You know the drill. Here's what's coming up. Extraordinary claims by Donald Trump that the horror plane crash in Washington in which at least 67 people have died, was caused by Washington's air traffic control diversity policy. The President and Vice President J.D. Vance both say the staff in crucial jobs were hired because of their disabilities as opposed to their abilities. Could this tragedy have been avoided with a less politically correct approach to recruitment? If so, was this the day the world woke up to the madness of woeful wokery? I mean, in a job like that, surely it's purely merit. Nothing else should be considered, surely. People's lives are at stake. What do you think? 0344 499 1000. Meanwhile, back in Britain, Reform leader Nigel Farage is fuming after the Labour government cancelled 13 of 21 local elections in May. Is a two-tier Keir running scared because he knows his socialist losers are going to get a hammering? 0344 499 1000. The answer's yes, by the way. If there's one thing lefties hate, it's democracy. In other news, Rachel from Accounts' ludicrous plans for alleged growth are today the object of almost total ridicule. A railway line here, an improved road there, a spruced-up football stadium. That's about it. Doesn't this economic know-nothing at least know she killed off all chance of growth with her grotesque £40 billion tax grab budget last year? And as for the third Heathrow runway, forget it. Crazy Ed Miliband and Pipsqueak London Mayor Sadiq Khan will make sure it never happens for environmental reasons. As Michael O'Leary said today, the Ryanair boss, even if it does happen, it'll be about 2050 before it gets built. So her saying, we're going to build a new runway, as if that is going to promote growth. It won't happen for donkey's years. It's meaningless what she said. Unless you're going to build a little railway line from Oxford to Milton Keynes and a road from Buckinghamshire to Cambridge and call it Europe's Silicon Valley. I mean, she's comedically useless. I mean, out of her depth doesn't even begin to cover it. 0344 499 1000. Labour is unravelling, of course, over its own incompetence. Sit back and watch the show. 0344 499 1000. Also tonight, Two Tiers' new law to tackle the escalating migrant crisis that is getting worse and worse under his lousy leadership. Guess what? Cops and Border Force investigators will soon be empowered to seize illegal migrants' phones and look at the data on them. Think about that. So, until now, they haven't been allowed to do that. Extraordinary. What a farce. Plus, it's Call Dr. Renee tonight from 8 until 9 p.m. GP Dr. Renee Hunderkamp in the studio answering all your medical questions. All health issues dealt with brilliantly. Bedside manner guaranteed. Call Dr. Renee on 0344 499 1000. She's here to help. And finally, Kinsey Schofield, live from Los Angeles on the latest disaster for Harry and Meghan. Stay tuned for the gory details. All that and so much more. So don't go anywhere. Stick with me right here, right now on Talk, the home of free speech and common sense. Let's spend Thursday night together. And as always, I'm going to be spending the first hour in the excellent company of Talk's international editor, Isabel Opeshott. Welcome to the show, Isabel. Good to have you on board again.
I can't wait to talk about this Trump press conference. It was absolutely extraordinary.
It really was, and it's got very, very serious ramifications. Now, you know, a lot of people saying, oh, what a clown. He didn't say this stuff lightly. Let's remind ourselves of what the president was relaying to the world today.
Partial paralysis, complete paralysis, epilepsy, severe intellectual disability, psychiatric disability, and dwarfism all qualify for the position of a controller of airplanes pouring into our country, pouring into a little dot on the map, a little runway. The initiative is part of the FAA's diversity and inclusion hiring plan. Think of that. The initiative is part of the FAA's diversity and inclusion hiring plan, which says diversity is integral to achieving FAA's mission of ensuring safe and efficient travel. I don't think so. I think it's just the opposite.
So stand by, Isabel. We'll have a look at his deputy, the Vice President J.D. Vance, who was echoing the theme. So take it away, Mr. Vance.
Something the president said that I think bears re-emphasizing, which is that when you don't have the best standards in who you're hiring, it means on the one hand, you're not getting the best people in government, but on the other hand, it puts stresses on the people who are already there. And I think that is a core part of what President Trump is going to bring and has already brought to Washington, D.C. is we want to hire the best people because we want the best people at air traffic control, and we want to make sure we have enough people at air traffic control who are actually competent to do the job.
So what both the President and the Vice President are saying here, Isabel, in their post-crash press conferences, is that the Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA in America, has been hiring people not on the basis of their abilities, but on the basis of their disabilities. Now, in a job like air traffic controller, we need no ifs, no buts. It must just be a meritocracy. Never mind if they've got one leg or they're a dwarf or whatever. You've got to have the best person for the job. Now, if they've been hiring people, say, never mind that guy, we've got someone with a disability here, DEI, diversity, let's hire them. I mean, that is a danger to public safety. And if this is the case, if what the President and the Vice President are saying is true, this is a massive scandal, and it will wake the world up to the horror, to the madness, the insanity of woeful wokery, won't it?
Well, can we just pause just to reflect for a minute just how extraordinary this press conference was? Because it's impossible to imagine in the UK anything like this happening. It's only a matter of hours since this awful tragedy happened. And, you know, perhaps, and I'm sure the President does know much more about what really happened than he's able to say, although he did go into quite a lot of detail. But it's very early days, and the normal way for a political leader to react under these circumstances is to just content themselves with, you know, expressing condolences to the families and the relatives of those who've died, and say there's going to be an investigation and so on and so forth. Trump has just gone completely nuclear on the subject of diversity and inclusion in the air traffic control towers. And we don't know yet that it is as a result of any mistake by air traffic control that this accident happened. But nonetheless, his theme seems fair enough. You know, demonstrably, there's been a terrible loss of life here, and demonstrably, there's been a failure by air traffic control to stop it happening. And his whole theme is that when he was in power before, he could see that air traffic control personnel weren't good enough. You know, he thinks they need to be way above the average. They need to be geniuses, was the word that he used. And he said that Biden basically unraveled that. And as soon as he came back into office, Trump says he had begun to put measures back in place to restore the quality of air traffic control. Unfortunately, not quick enough for this to have been prevented. And, you know, I just sort of sat there jaw dropping at some of what he said. We haven't even got to the bit where he lays into the poor head of the Department for Transport in the state, a man he called a complete disaster, and went on to say that this transport chief just was very good at, and I'm quoting here, bullshit. Can you imagine a UK politician doing this?
Well, Donald Trump has just ripped up the copybook on the way politicians generally, but certainly world leaders, are supposed to behave. Over here, Keir Starmer, I wouldn't necessarily criticise him for this, but what he would have said, as you say, and other leaders would have done the same too, sympathy for the victims, you know, our thoughts are with the families, etc., etc. This was a terrible crash, and we must wait for the results of the investigation to see what's caused it. Well, you know, that's okay. We're used to that. But somehow or other, you know, this maybe sounds a bit odd, but there's something refreshing about the way Donald Trump approaches all situations. He approaches it like the rest of us. People will be talking about this. People, as he said last night or early this morning, he said, "Hang on, this accident should not have happened." There's a military helicopter, I think, with 3 military personnel aboard. You know, how come the helicopter didn't go up or down? How come it went straight towards it? So in other words, he sort of got on board the conspiracy theory wagon there. So, but this is the way people speak. And now he's zoning on DEI. Again, this is the way people speak. And frankly, I think his way of going about things is a vast improvement on the measured sort of diplomatic way that most politicians approach this sort of thing. In fact, the way they approach almost everything. I'm loving it.
I agree, because it feels so much more real, doesn't it?
Yes.
It feels like this is not just a backside covering exercise, you know, a way of trying to fob us all off, give us some platitudes, and then go away and spend years investigating. And then when everybody's forgotten because there's so many other tragedies that come in between, you know, come out with your findings. And he did actually say that today. He said, you know, normal thing would be to tell you all that we're going to have an investigation, and, you know, in several years' time we'll report back, and they will have an investigation, of course they will. But he was ready to say, well, you know what, we already know quite a bit, and here's what happened. And he was kind of, I mean, it's almost to our ears, it's so kind of radically different that it is almost funny. And of course you don't want to say it's funny because it's a really genuinely horrendous tragedy, but he was sort of saying, well, I've got a helicopter and I know how easy it is for them to go up or down or move out the way. So what exactly happened here? And I think, as you say, this is Trump's genius. It's why Trump gets so much support from so many different sections of society, because he talks like a kind of normal person. I mean, in a sense, he talks like anyone else in the pub, just wondering how on earth this thing could have happened, and not trying to do any number of verbal gymnastics to avoid telling us what he's really thinking. He's just laying it all out there, isn't he?
And he's used, absolutely, and he's, as I say, he's ripped up the copybook on the way world leaders, senior politicians are supposed to behave. I've seen a lot of journalists from the political lobbies here in Westminster. You know, they're disgusted and shocked because he does not conform to the way they expect politicians to behave. And the rest of us are saying, thank God for that. Hallelujah. We've had enough of your, you know, deflective nonsense. And he's getting to the heart of the matter now. He's already talking about, by the way, sadly, this was, of course, a American airline that was hit by a helicopter, and both vessels, I think, plunged into the Potomac River. Officials have now confirmed that there are no survivors, so I do believe the death count, sadly, is 67. So they're confirming that. But it's good. It's good because people, and we've seen the haunting pictures. You can see it from the air traffic control tower. They've got it on film of when you're looking at it now. You can see it, there it goes. This is the helicopter crashing straight into it. And I do think it's strange. I do think it's strange that happened. You'd have thought, you know, the joystick, you go up or down. Weren't they looking? And wasn't the helicopter looking? But yes, Trump is now talking about this crash being caused, as far as he can work out, by a confluence of bad decisions. And this is a confluence of bad decisions that he believes may have been made by air traffic controllers who were not the best qualified people to do the job. As I said earlier, they were people that he believes were hired for their disabilities rather than their abilities. And if that is true, as I said earlier, that is a massive scandal, isn't it?
Absolutely is. You know, when I first started out as a political journalist many years ago, I had to learn a whole new language, really. It's the language of deflection, as you said, and it was learning about how to interpret what politicians really meant by what they didn't say, or the phrases they used to avoid answering the question. The joy with Trump is you don't have to do that. You know, most people don't know how to interpret political speak, but with Trump, you don't have to try, because he's just saying it straight, just as it is. And I'm sure it'll take a while before we know exactly who failed and how and why. But Trump is just on a campaign. He's on a mission to end this DEI nonsense. And I think so many of us can just get fully on board with that. And if this awful tragedy helps to that end, then all the better.
Yeah, you're right. He's speaking to the people, as opposed to congressmen and senators. And I think that's a fantastic development. Maybe it will set the die for future presidents. You never know. Now, I did want to get you. Let's quickly talk about this. We've got to move on in just a second. But meanwhile, before this horrible tragedy, he was continuing his textbook lesson in how to tackle America's migrant crisis. You know, first you stop saying that illegal migrants are not criminals. They crossed the border without documents. They broke into the country. That's against the law. They are all criminals. And some of them, as we know, quite a few of them are a lot worse than that. Murderers, rapists, drug dealers, and so on and so forth. He started the mass deportations. And now he signed another one of his executive orders aimed at sending 30,000 of, to quote him, the worst criminal illegal aliens to be caged in Guantanamo Bay, where apparently they have 30,000 spare beds. This is on Cuba, of course. And this privilege will be reserved for crooks that he said are so bad we don't even trust their countries to hold them. So what he's saying is if they deport them back to their country, he fears they'll escape and get back to America. So rather than risk that, he's just going to lock them up in Guantanamo Bay. And he added, it's a tough place to get out of. I mean, this is a hard-line way of tackling their migrant crisis. And frankly, it's good to see.
It is. I mean, this strategy of deterrence works. We know this because other countries have been able to achieve it. There are countries which have virtually zero illegal immigration as a result of sending out the message that if you do this, you will be treated as a criminal. If you try to sneak into our country or overstay your visa, we're just going to lock you up or deport you immediately. The UK routinely does none of those things. We just let people slip into just melt into society. And as a result, we've got 1 in 12 people in London who are illegal immigrants, and the whole economy is being distorted by this crisis. So I would love to see a similar super hardline approach to this in the UK. And you know what? I think a majority of the population is in favour of that. They're not going to get it with this government. I know we're going to talk a bit further about that.
Yeah, we will later, yeah.
And things are going to build and build, and there is going to be an absolute outpouring of fury from voters next time they have the opportunity to express it.
I mean, Australia started this, a very logical process. They basically said, look, you come to our country in an illegal vessel, and you try to break in through our borders. You ignore border control. You've just broken our laws. And then you apply for asylum. No. You can't have asylum because you've broken our laws. You're a criminal. Now, the brilliant Caroline Levitt, Donald Trump's new head of communications in the White House, just 27 years old, but a wise head on young shoulders. She was quizzed in the White House by that supine lot of Washington reporters. Somebody said, one of these reporters said, but Ms. Levitt, Caroline, these people are not criminals. She went, no, that has changed. Joe Biden used to say that. We don't. She says, you break into our country, you come across our border illegally, you're a criminal, end of, and we deport you. We could do that in this country, but as you say, the trouble is we have a Prime Minister and a Cabinet and a government who don't want to solve the migrant crisis. They like migrants coming in. We'll talk about that a bit later, Isabel, but after this next break, we're going to talk about Nigel Farage's fury over the Tory party. There are 29 local elections coming up, not the Tory party, the Labour Party. There are 29 local elections coming up in May. Reform, quite rightly, fancied their chances, and Labour knew that they were doomed. Guess what? They've cancelled 13 of them. If there's one thing lefties hate, it's democracy. That next, stay tuned.
The emotional terrorism that Hamas keeps doing. We don't know anything, and we won't know anything until there is another release of three men on Saturday, and no one knows who they are and who is going to be released. And we are waiting for the call. We are waiting for this call.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Well, we have come to expect that Keir Starmer is prepared to stoop low, low, low. So are his lousy cabinet, covering up, not telling us the truth, lying through his teeth. And today, though, I think he's probably stooped to his lowest point so far by attacking democracy. So we've got the local elections coming up in May, 29 local elections. Then everybody knows that Labour are going to get what Barack Obama once called a shellacking. They're going to get hammered. And Reform UK were set to do extremely well. Well, guess what? What's Starmer's approach to that? Let's cancel democracy. So he's cancelled 13 of these local elections. Some old drivel about, the borders are changing, so we'll have to do these late. No. He is terrified of how bad it is going to look when Labour lose all of these seats, all of these local elections. And the ones where Reform UK were tipped to do particularly well, they're the ones that have gone. What a shame. What a surprise as well. Here's Nigel Farage fuming about all of this.
I simply could not believe the rumour when I heard that the Labour government, despite any manifesto commitment, want to completely change the shape of local government. And that is now being used by the Conservative Party, who in fact run most of the county councils, as a reason to cancel the elections. No, I'm not making it up. Over half of the county councils in Britain have said, because these changes are coming, we want the elections cancelled on May the 1st. It looks like about 10 million of you who would have had the right to vote on that day will not be able to. I think this is absolutely monstrous. We haven't heard a big debate about it because both Labour and the Conservatives agree. They are terrified of the rise of reform.
He's right, isn't he, Isabel? This is a disgrace, an utter disgrace, an attack on democracy.
It's highly unusual to cancel elections at any level. You know, we saw the cancellation of elections and postponement during COVID. I've seen it before during foot and mouth disease many years ago. That had an impact on timing of elections, not cancellation though. This is quite astonishing. This is just not what you do in a modern democracy. And I haven't really engaged with the story because it seemed a bit boring. And actually, when you look at the way it's reported in this very dry manner. I was just looking at the BBC report on it just now, and it's all about, well, these county councils are cancelling elections because of some, devolution measure, and they make it sound so dry. Let's call this what it is. It is an attempt to strip people of their fundamental right in the UK to have their say over who governs them at a local level. And that matters hugely to people. It has an impact on their everyday lives in many ways, more so than what happens at national level. This is about how often your bins are collected, how many potholes there are, whether your child who needs special attention at school gets that kind of care package, and so on. And this is a brazen attempt to deny people their democratic voice. And it is utterly disgraceful. And I am sure it is because of the rise of the Reform Party, which today, once again, came the top of a new set of polls.
Yes, I mean, it's an unholy alliance between Labour and the Tories, because Labour were going to get a kick in. They were going to get hammered in all of this. And so, of course, were the Tories as Reform rise and rise. So everybody in Westminster knows that Reform was set to have one hell of a good day on May the 1st. 13 of 29 elections now will not happen. Some old drivel about the border lines of constituencies changing and all that. That's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. This is Keir Starmer, aided and abetted by Kemi Badenoch, cancelling democracy while they desperately try to hang on to the two-party system and Reform UK keep on coming at them. And of course, as I said, the 13, by an extraordinary coincidence, the 13 boroughs and areas that have been cancelled in terms of their elections, they were the areas where Reform UK were tipped to win, to triumph. Strange that, but quite a coincidence, isn't it?
You know, I don't think this is going to work, because what any opposition party worth their salt would do in this case, and as we've just said, the supposed real opposition, the Tories are in favour of this, is to double down in the very areas where people have been denied their voice. And I can imagine that Reform will throw extra resources into these areas to make sure that the politicians responsible for this appalling decision are well and truly punished at the first opportunity. Now, that opportunity may be delayed. That's only an opportunity for Reform and other opposition parties to gather their strength so that they can give these people the metaphoric kicking that they deserve the minute they do get a chance to go to the ballot box. I would say behave like this at your peril, Labour government, because you will be punished for it.
And they're only holding off the inevitable. You know, if they succeed in this dreadful, disgraceful attack on democracy, they still have to go through a general election at some point. And I'll tell you what, Reform UK are going to feature quite prominently in the next general election, to say the least. It's been extraordinary what the Tories have been up to in this last week, the events that have been going on. The awful Southport revelations, the fact that we're all, the Home Office report, we're all extremists because we believe in two-tier being. All of these scandals, massive scandals that have really energised the people. The Tory leader, Kemi Badenoch, the best she managed was about page 96 in the newspapers, because she's worried about academy schools. She doesn't get it. She doesn't get it. She's got to learn about how the media works. And I fear, well, I don't really fear because they deserve it, but I fear for the fate of the Tories unless she raises her game.
She really doesn't seem to get it. And, you know, this is remarkable. I don't want to just bang the drum for Reform. You know, I'm happy to give credit where it's due to other opposition parties. But Reform has 5 MPs. That's all it has relative to the Tories with their 100 and whatever it is they've got. They're not making any weather, the Tories. They've got all these MPs who don't seem to be able to cut through at all. And, you know, why does this matter? Because elections are years away. You know, many things can change between now and then. Maybe Reform will crash and burn. I hope not. But this looks and feels like a revolution in our politics. It looks and feels like finally there is an end in sight to the two-party system. We can't say whether it will or it won't happen, but from where I'm sitting, something very, very exciting is underway.
Absolutely. I mean, to Kemi Badenoch, we're going to go to break in just a second, but Kemi Badenoch had a great opportunity this week because Keir Starmer, ludicrously, when we got the ONS statistics on the fact that our population is likely to explode to 72.5 million by 2032, which means that be about half at 400,000 more legal migrants every year coming in. When Keir Starmer was asked, well, surely now is the time to put a cap on, I don't think that would serve any practical purpose. She should have come in and said, well, we'll put a cap on it, and here's the number. I rather like Reform's cap number, 0, net 0 on migration. She should be saying that, but she's talking about academy schools. Hey, Kemi, wake up and smell the coffee, really. Next up, we'll talk about border security. I'm still with Isabel Oakeshott. Stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I'm still with Isabel Oakeshott, Talk's international editor. Well, you're going to like this one, Isabel, because the government is about to bring in its 2 tiers exciting new border security, asylum and immigration bill. This will deliver new powers to investigators, to the police, to the border force when these migrants, these illegal migrants, arrive on our shores. And guess what? This brilliant new law will allow our policemen and our border force investigators to do. It will allow them, enable them to seize the illegal migrants' phones and then to look at the data on them. So you think, well, that's very sensible. And then I thought 1 second later, wait a minute, you mean they haven't been able to do that until now? That's extraordinary, isn't it?
Just thinking, you know, I heard this extraordinary new law, this tough new measure that's coming in. I thought, wow, I can just now pack up and, you know, stop banging on about these boats coming over because the government's got it all sorted. And then I heard what their amazing new measure is, and it's, you wait for it, the power to look at a illegal immigrant's phone. Are you serious? Are you kidding me? How can that not be a basic thing anyway?
Exactly.
I mean, the time they chuck their phones overboard.
Yeah,
so
that's another thing to stress, of course. Most of them have already thrown their phones in the sea. But hitherto, those that did turn up with their phones, it transpires, we find out today that the police and the border force have been lawfully unable to seize their phones and look at what's on them. It's unbelievable, isn't it?
No wonder we're not getting anywhere. I mean, there have been cases where these people coming over on the boats who are breaking the law, if we take Trump's way of looking at things, have been filming themselves as they make the crossing and putting it on TikTok like this is some kind of recreational activity. Hey guys, look at this cool boat trip that I'm on, and come on over, because once I get to the UK, it's the land of milk and honey. Milk, honey, free phones, free clothes, free doctors, free everything. And, you know, they're not wrong, are they? It is the land of milk and honey compared to where many of them have come from. But the point is, they've come through plenty of other lands of milk and honey before they came to ours.
It's just nonsense. And just to put it in context, I mean, this law, this new law, of course, as Keir said, it's aimed at smashing the gangs. Border Security Force, £200,000 a year. Guy called Martin Hewitt who runs it, that's how much he earns. They spent £175 million on state-of-the-art equipment to catch the evil people smugglers. How many people smuggling gangs have they caught so far since they came into power on July the 5th? Oh, I know. Zero. So they've wasted all this money on this pathetic Border Security Command, which is aiming at the wrong cause of the problem. The root cause of the problem is not the people smuggling gangs, it's the migrants. You've got to stop the migrants. So this is why the numbers go up and up and up, because we have a government that can't even see what the real cause of the problem is. So 150,000 small boats have now come from France since 2018. 150,000. And this year we're on course for a record number of migrants already. We're cracking all records. 1,098 migrants have crossed the channel this year so far. We have a government that doesn't know what it's doing, is tackling the problem backside about face, all wrong. And B, I don't think they want to solve this crisis. They like migrants, don't they?
I don't think they want to solve it either. And you know what? Sometimes I think to myself, you know, Labour is doing so badly in terms of the popular support. You know, people currently absolutely hate this government. I don't think that's an exaggeration. People really hate this government.
I do. Yeah, they do.
He could do if Keir Starmer just stood on the beaches down on the south coast and said, right, from now on, this is it. I am not letting a single additional migrant cross this channel. We are going to turn back the boats. A nation would cheer, and Labour would turn its fortunes around within the space of a few minutes, the few minutes that it took to deliver that vow and make it happen. But you know what? Then they're not going to do that. You know, politically, parties like Reform would be terrified of Labour doing that. It would completely undermine Reform's core offer at this point, which is to tackle illegal immigration. So if Labour wanted to kind of shoot the Reform fox, that would be the way to do it. But they're not going to do it, are they?
And what did you make yes and no there? Of course they're not. As I say, in the end, you know, what you need to solve a migrant crisis is the sort of resolve and sense of purpose that Donald Trump is showing. Our government has no resolve about this, no sense of purpose, and I think secretly does not want to solve this crisis because they like migrants. They think it's, you know, kind of humane and wonderful. Be kind. What did you make? We broke this story last night on this show, actually, the fact that we are now British taxpayers are paying out, forking out thousands of pounds, £3,000 every day for illegal migrants' clothes and shoes. So they arrive, we give them not only it's a new thing. Not only do we give them a free 4-star hotel, free food for the rest of their days, it seems to me, free doctors, free dentists, free lawyers. Free accommodation. Not only do it turns out we now also we pay for their wardrobe, We give them free clothes and shoes, costing us £3,000 every single day. It's unbelievable, isn't it?
You know what? No, it isn't unbelievable.
It's believable, you're right.
Nothing is unbelievable about this. I mean, people send me information every day about other free things. You know, another big one, which is proving quite hard to get to the bottom of through freedom of information, is the amount of money the taxpayer is shelling out on taxi rides. You know, these asylum seekers are being taxied per individual cars really long distances, you know, whether it's just to see some friend on human rights grounds, you know, 60 miles away. They are being provided with taxi transport. That is not an unusual thing. This is a tip of the iceberg, you know, free mobile phones, free this, free that. Lovely. If our country was a giant charity that was absolutely dripping in money, we're not. We're broke. We're full. We can't afford to do it anymore.
I want to put this out to the audience. Let me know what you think. I know you're all hard-working people. We're all paying our taxes. I know I am. You should see my tax bill. You don't want to see it. It's a horror show. I'm in shock. But seriously, we're all paying our taxes. What do you think of the fact that over the past 3 years, 4 million quid's worth of our taxes has gone on shoes and clothes for migrants? We're paying for their damn wardrobes. What do you think about that? 03444991000. Isabel, stay tuned. Stay where you are, because next up, we're going to talk about Rachel from accounts and her plans for growth. She made her big keynote speech yesterday about how she was going to grow the economy. Within seconds, she became the object of national ridicule. This woman is beyond a joke now. She's incompetent, she can't do her job, and yesterday her speech defied belief. If she thinks that's a recipe for growth, she's got another thing coming. We'll talk about that after this break. Stay tuned.
Is Rachel Reeves right that a third runway at Heathrow will boost growth? Or is Michael O'Leary, the boss of Ryanair, right, who says she hasn't got a clue? Heathrow is a dead cat. It won't come until 2040 or 2050 at the earliest. Who's right?
That if this was China, I mean, they are planning to build over 100 new airports next year. In the next 12 months. And in the last 5-year plan, they had 40 built. And we're arguing over a single runway for years.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Just a reminder, after the 8 o'clock news in 10, 12 minutes or so, I'll be joined by Dr. Renee Hunderkamp for Call Dr. Renee. She's here to answer all your medical problems. You know the drill. Give her a ring. She'll sort you out. 0344 499 1000. Call Dr. Renee. She's here to help. In the meantime, I'm still in the excellent company of Isabel Oakeshott, Talk's international editor. Isabel, they say that there's no good comedy on the airwaves anymore. Well, I beg to differ. Here's Rachel Reeves making her growth speech yesterday.
Low growth is not our destiny. But growth will not come without a fight, without a government willing to take the right decisions now to change our country's future for the better. That's what our plan for change is all about. That is what drives me as Chancellor.
Well, there she is, as we observed yesterday, for some reason making her speech in the middle of a machine, making a great big noise. Talk about amateur hour. But her plans for growth become now an object of national ridicule. We call her Rachel from accounts. I think we thank Lee Anderson for that. Very funny. But Michael O'Leary, the boss of Ryanair, has come up with one that's a bit more direct, but it's kind of funny. Rachel Rubbish. Anyway, he pointed out that, first of all, this runway, the third runway, if it gets built at all, which I say is unlikely, it won't be built until about 2050. So she can't talk about it being a plan for growth now. And meanwhile, Labour, hilariously, is unravelling over this because you've got the Clean Air Brigade, crazy Ed Miliband, the net zero nutter, and Sadiq Kant, the awful pipsqueak London mayor, who's obsessed with clean air too. Oh, it's against our environmental targets and all that. So those two, Ed Miliband, sulky Ed, didn't even turn up for a speech yesterday. So he's gone into hiding. He is going to do everything he can to scupper this, probably successfully, because if you play the environmental green card, it nearly always works. He'll be aided and abetted by his partner in crime, Khan. So it's going to plunge straight into, you know, years of campaigning, of objections. If you wanted to be really, really optimistic, 10, 12 years, if it ever happens. I say it won't, but I think O'Leary is nearer the mark. Probably 2050, 45 years, whatever that is. It's pathetic. She says that's a plan for growth. Then she goes on about a little railway line from Oxford to Milton Keynes and a road from Buckinghamshire to Cambridge and says that's the Silicon Valley. No, it's not. And also, incredibly, the whole nation celebrates, put out the bunting. This is a plan for growth. They're going to rebuild Old Trafford, Manchester United football ground. Great. Why Manchester United? What about Fulham or someone like that? You know, I mean, what is she talking about? She killed off all chance of growth with that grotesque £43 billion tax grab budget last October, didn't she?
Completely. And I just wonder, when they were sort of sitting around the table in the Treasury, desperately trying to come up with ideas that would sound like they were doing something and that they had some exciting plans. Which one of them thought that the Heathrow third runway was a corpse worth exhuming? I mean, this body was buried many years ago. It was a misery for years. At the time, it was a political row that consumed the Conservatives, with Boris Johnson saying he would lie down in front of the diggers and all that stuff. And it was eventually scrapped, and quite rightly so, because we don't actually need it. The case for it is a lot weaker now than it was when it was first proposed, because people are flying less, you know, because of the advent of Zoom meetings and the ability to actually meet in different ways. I don't think that there is a decent case for it anymore. If you want to invest in infrastructure, aviation infrastructure, do it in the regions where they really sorely could do with a bit more of that. And you just wonder how Rachel Reeves and her team thought there would be enough upside in reopening this, because they can't build it anytime when they're going to be in government. So just talking about it only creates a row story. How is that going to improve the economy?
And how does a little railway line about 30 miles long between Oxford and Milton Keynes and a slightly improved road from Buckinghamshire to Cambridge, how does that add up to Europe's Silicon Valley?
I mean, it's just laughable. It's sort of embarrassing.
It's embarrassing. It's what it is. Yeah.
It's really embarrassing. That if she wanted to do something super powerful, then she would slash corporation tax, do things that make it easier to employ people, and stop the endless burgeoning of the welfare state. But she's not doing any of those things, so nothing is going to get better. And she does, to give her a credit, she does keep saying, I will be judged on my outcomes. Well, yeah, you will, love. And that judgment day is coming pretty soon. I'm not sure how much longer people are going to give you to achieve what you say you're determined to achieve.
So I'll tell you, she went on to Good Morning Britain, I think it was this morning or yesterday morning, and my friend Richard Madeley, who has a kind of a sort of tendency to be rather direct, his first question to her, she's expecting, expand on your plans for growth. He just went, why did you lie in your CV? Why did you pretend that you were something that you weren't? And she was completely flummoxed by it. And then she started going, I'm an economist, and blah, blah, blah. And he said, yeah, well, that's why they call you Rachel from accounts. And she hates that nickname, which is good to know. So we know what to call her also. But I like Rachel Rubbish as well. Well, I'm glad you brought up the welfare, because I was going to do this as a separate slot, but the air crash kind of knocked it down the news agenda. But it's worth mentioning. You talked about our welfare bill. New statistics reveal that 2.4 million people are now being paid the highest level of incapacity benefits with no requirement to seek a job for the rest of their lives. The number of claimants signed off for life has surged by 50% in 5 years, contributing to a projected welfare overspend this year, 2025, of £8.6 billion. Robert Reeves says she's going to launch a benefits crackdown. But in this country now, there are 9.3 million 16 to 64-year-olds either not in or not looking for work. That's 800,000 more than before COVID. And it's getting worse. And a lot of these people are being signed off on the phone for life. It's a phone call. All right, fair enough. You don't ever have to go to... You're 16, you don't ever have to go to work. The state will pay you for the rest of your life. This is grotesque. It's obscene, isn't it?
It is absolutely incomprehensible. I mean, put simply, Britain is not full of people who are so ill and disabled that they can't look after themselves or support themselves at all. Of course, there are some people in that category. No one is saying that there isn't. And those people need the support of the state, and that's what a welfare state is there for. But the reality is there are an awful lot of people who could do some work. Perhaps they need more help to be shown how to do that, but they could make a meaningful contribution, and it would be better for them. And there may even be some who, in fact, I'm sure there are, who actually want to get back into work, but in fact, it's just easier, or the system makes it easier for them to keep taking handouts. And this is just so wrong on so many levels. It's wrong for the people concerned. It's wrong for the people who really need the help, because it means they get less help because there's less to share around. And it's wrong for the taxpayer, an ever diminishing band of people earning the higher rates of tax are having to pay for ever more people who are not earning anything. It is, it's unsustainable, and it's going to crash the country. Rachel from accounts has said she's going to really launch a crackdown on all of this, but it is a spiralling crisis, but it's out of control. And the thing is that a lot of these people are, as you say, great sympathy for the genuine cases, but a great many of these people who've got a pass for life, they're lying.
They're lying. They're swinging the lead. We've got to do something about this. Isabel, a fantastic couple of days as always. We'll talk again next week. Thank you so much. Isabel Oakeshott, Talk's international editor there. Next up, of course, after the 9 o'clock news, 8 o'clock news. What am I talking about? I'm wishing my life away. After the 8 o'clock news, it's Call Dr. Renee. You know the drill. 0344 499 1000. She's here to help.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. It's Call Dr. Renee. Renee Hunderkamp, GP extraordinaire, is in the studio. Welcome, Renee. You know the drill. You need to get on the phone if you have any health issues. If you're worried about the NHS, you've got problems with the NHS, you can't get to see your GP. Who can? Actually, do you know, I have actually seen my GP twice in 2 weeks. So I think that's can any of you beat that? Seriously, but you can't get to see your GP. I know loads of you can't. Perhaps you're unhappy with your treatment, or you're just not feeling very well. It doesn't have to be you. Could be a friend, could be a loved one, a wife, a husband, a spouse. Get on the phone and call Dr. Renee on 0344 499 1000. She's here to help, and she is damn good at this stuff. So call her up, and the surgery will be open in just a few minutes. What we like to do while you all start hitting the phones and dialing in is we like to pick a story, a medical type of story, that perhaps might interest Renee, or more to the point that she might be able to be intelligent about. So there's not many of them around, but we found one. I'm only joking. She's a doctor. She's very intelligent. My God. If you remember, folks, last September, there was an outrageous story when a 17-year-old autistic girl who played girls' football, female football. You know what autistic people are. You know, they're very direct. So she comes up against this other female team, and she's standing there before the game starts. And there's a bloke standing there, you know, I identify as a woman. Yes, you can identify as a woman if you like, mate, but that doesn't make you a woman. Now, as you know, all of us have to tiptoe around, oh yes, she is a woman because she identifies. We all have to tiptoe around all this claptrap. But this 17-year-old girl just looked at this bloke and went, you a man? And for that, there was a great hoo-ha about it, and for that, the poor girl had to be hauled in front of a kind of tribunal of the local league, I think it was up in the north somewhere, and was banned for 6 games for asking a man if he was a man. Now, so that's through the looking glass stuff. Well, you'll get, you know, and we sort of thought, well, the football authorities will see sense here. They won't do that again. They've done it again, haven't they? Yep. A second female footballer has been banned from playing for asking if a transgender opponent, I think there might have been a couple, I mean, what?
They asked the ref.
What's it called? Was it Transgender United or something? Anyway, so this girl has been banned as well. This has got to stop, hasn't it?
I was, as you know, so angry when I saw this story. I'm sick and tired of this. And in actual fact, I said yesterday, I put out a tweet that it's time for the Lionesses and other women footballers to stand up for these young girls who aspire to play football. But they don't want to play football against men. You know why? Because it's not fair, and because they get injured. It's dangerous. And none of them, the old Gary Lineker, who whitters on about every waif and stray in the street that he wants us to take in our homes, but he can't defend women. The Lionesses, silent. It's not good enough. The FA has been completely captured by this rubbish, and it's put in women. There are about 96 men playing in girl and women football leagues around the country. They're getting more knee injuries, the girls, than they've ever had before. You know why? Because men are stronger. They kick harder. They do damage. This is a disgrace. This young girl went to the ref and said, have you checked out the other team? I think they might have a man playing for them.
Yeah.
That's what she did.
Yeah, so this is, by the way, the November case, I forgot about the rather salient detail. The autistic girl, the 17-year-old girl, you know, I mean, I'm saying, oh, yeah, you know how direct they are, these autistic people. Well, it's a bit unfair to her, actually, because the female, the woman that she asked, are you a man? It's a fair question, really, because this woman, identifying as a woman, had a bloody beard.
Yes.
I mean, and then she gets banned for 6 weeks for asking a bloke with a beard if he was a man. And now it's happened again.
Do you know what? It would be funny if it wasn't so outrageous, Kevin. I'm so tired of this. You know, we've got an obesity crisis. We've got a situation where girls in schools do not participate in sport as much as they should. We've got them aspiring to the amazing Lionesses and wanting to play football. But now they have to accept that they might have to get changed in changing rooms with blokes with penises, and they might have to play against them and just pretend they're other girls. Women and girls are going to walk away from sport while these cheating men try and force their delusions on us.
And by the way, this, I'm just looking at the story now, this poor girl, she's got learning difficulties. She questioned, as you say, this is the new event. In fairness to the trans player, I think that the trans player didn't have a beard.
Oh, well.
I mean, this is comedy, isn't it? So this girl, she's got learning difficulties. She's been suspended for 6 matches because she went up to the referee and said, I think that player is a bloke. And indeed, she was right. So what these people, the poor kids who are getting suspended, they're speaking the truth. They're just going, that's a bloke. And they're getting suspended. So they're getting suspended for telling the truth. As I say, this is Alice in Wonderland through the looking glass.
Where are the FA? Prince William is the president of the FA. Where is he? Would he like it if little Charlotte had to play against a man in her football match?
Exactly. And so you're calling on the Lionesses to make it. Why don't they make a stand?
Money.
Money, yes.
They don't want to lose their sponsorships with Nike and the rest. Well, do you know what? If they all stood up together, they wouldn't lose their sponsorships. And what we would do is we would get men out of women's sport, and that's what needs to happen.
Yeah. I mean, why do they want to play in a women's team anyway?
Because they're no good for the blokes.
They're rubbish. They're rubbish. Like the swimmers and the runners. Can't beat the blokes. I know. I'll pretend I'm a woman. Then I'll beat the women.
Part of it's also misogynistic because the bloke with a beard knows that he's a bloke, showing the world that he's a bloke because he has a beard, and only men grow beards. So that's actually an insult to women. It's saying, don't challenge me. Yes, I'm a bloke, but don't you dare say it.
Exactly right. And I mean, as I say, it's just got to stop. Haven't the International Olympic Committee finally said that there won't be any more trans athletes competing against
no, not yet.
Biological women, real women?
They're still saying they're leaving it to the individual sporting bodies, and that's the problem.
You're not allowed to say that, are you? You're not allowed to say that it's biological women. You could say real women. You're not allowed to say that, though.
Well, I do.
That's transphobic.
Yeah, I'm not interested in that made-up word.
So when a bloke puts a dress on and identifies as a woman, they're a woman. Well, they're not, are they? They're a pretend woman, right?
Would I be allowed to identify as disabled and go into the Paralympics?
It's no doubt coming. I mean, you know, the guy with the beard playing women's football, he'll probably give it a go.
You know,
probably put a bandage on his leg and say, hey.
Could a man identify as a toddler and go to nursery? Where's it going to end?
The good thing about it is, I mean, we haven't got the memo yet, but Donald Trump is driving a freight train through this crap, isn't he?
I hope so, but he's going to have a lot of challenges in the courts.
Yeah. I don't, you know, he's saying that from now on women's sports will be fair. I mean, you know...
It's really easy to make it fair. You just let women play women and men play men.
Yeah, exactly. Even in the American courts, I think that case will win. You know, but we need more Donald Trumps to start talking straight about this, don't we? We need more Donald Trumps in many, many ways. He's talking about... Have you seen what he's saying about the Washington air crash? He's saying it's because the Federal Aviation Authority in America has had a policy of hiring people because of their disabilities as opposed to their abilities.
Well, I told you I listened to a podcast on this about a year ago from Matt Walsh, where he showed some really amazing data where since they introduced DEI into those departments, near misses with aircraft have gone in the other direction, massively high. And he said that is purely because we're employing people who are not up to a very difficult job, and air traffic control is a very difficult job.
Yeah, look, when it comes to air traffic control, I mean, I don't really care about diversity anyway, but, you know, in lots of offices and God knows what, you want to have diversity policies, go for it. I don't know. Yeah, you know, the thing about diversity is originally it was a good idea. It was aimed at giving people of colour, disabled people, etc., a fair crack of the whip, even playing field. But we've turned it round, overcompensated to the extent now that if you're a sort of white, middle-class, middle-aged, completely able bloke, you've got no chance of getting a job anywhere. I mean, you really are a kind of oppressed minority.
I applied for a job recently and said I was a lesbian because I thought it might give me more of a chance,
got it then,
and I still didn't get it because I was still white and middle class.
Well, you know,
but you know what? Everybody wants equality of opportunity. I really did. It was actually with the GMC. I'll just throw that out there.
They couldn't really prove that wasn't true, could they?
But we all want equality of opportunity. Of course we do. What we don't want is equality of outcome because that's irrelevant.
Yeah.
Give everybody the same chance.
Yeah. No, well, exactly. That's what it's about. But
not at football.
But the balance has been grotesquely twisted.
Grotesquely.
So that now, you know, the playing field isn't equal. And according to Donald Trump and his deputy, his Vice President J.D. Vance, in the very crucial area of air traffic control, the uneven playing field has resulted in a load of people who are not best qualified for the job, but they're disabled. Or he said apparently one of the things is intellectually disabled, so in other words, cerebrally challenged.
It's a really hard job.
You don't want people to be, you know, so as I say, I'm suspicious about it generally, but you know, I'll accept it in, you know, I don't know, accounts departments or whatever.
But you know, we've done.
But in air traffic control, I don't give a damn. I want the best person in that job. If that person happens to have one leg, fine. But that must not be a consideration for air traffic control.
But also think about the police. You used to have to be 6 foot and slim. Now you can be 2 foot tall and look like an apple on legs, and that's okay. You couldn't chase anything.
Exactly. Let me know what you think about that. Maybe, I mean, we want your medical problems, but perhaps we could have a chat about that if you want to ring Renee and me about that. 0344 499 1000. I'll tell you what we'll do now, Renee. We will go to break, and when we come back, we're going to talk to Karen in Malaga in Spain. So that next, stay tuned.
Killed growth. This is all panic, isn't it? This is a good case to sack the Chancellor.
No, complete rubbish. Come on, look, you saw today a strong Chancellor in control of the agenda for this country.
Really? Or a panicking Chancellor pivoting and trying to U-turn?
Panicking. You're creating a fiction, Harry.
Would you like the job if she...
It was a great speech today, setting out this government's agenda, why the plan for change is working, the plan for change that the British people voted for, with a historic landslide for a Labour government. We're getting on with the job of the change that we promised in delivering, and that is a great thing for the country.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Don't forget, it's call Dr. Renee. Renee Hunderkamp, GP extraordinaire, is in the studio to answer all your medical questions. If you have health issues, NHS problems, can't get to see your GP, you're unhappy with your treatment, or you just don't feel very well. It doesn't have to be you, it can be a friend or a loved one. But get on the phone, she's here to help. 0344 499 1000. The surgery is now open. Let's get going. And as I said, first up, it's Karen in Malaga in Spain. Hi, Karen.
Hello, Kevin. How are you?
I'm very, very well. Talk to Dr. Renee.
Hello, Karen. Lucky you being in Malaga.
Well, I'll be over there soon. So, yeah, no, it's not very nice here at the moment. It's very cold.
You want to talk about your 88-year-old mum, I see. What would you like to say?
Yes, I do. I'm coming over in 2 weeks to look after her after a knee replacement that she's having done. So I've booked the 2 weeks, might be longer, but she will be 88 on the day that she comes out of hospital. And all I know is that she'll be in there for 2 nights.
Yeah.
So she's had a lot of heart problems before, and stents and different things. And she's had MS for the last 50 years. So she's not having this surgery to walk. She's having it for pain.
Okay.
She's taking tramadol for the pain.
Pain in her knee?
Yes. So she's having a complete, total knee replacement. And I'd like to ask you what I can expect in terms of pain relief for her and exercising and all that kind of thing after the surgery.
So I'd like to think that they send her home with a complete physio package, and initially they visit you at home. Whether that'll happen or not, I'm really not sure, Karen, but that would be the ideal. So people's recovery from knee surgery varies greatly, obviously, depending on what their start point is. But you can generally look to about a 3-month recovery period, where across that time they're generally getting more and more mobile until they're almost back to baseline at 3 months, which is what you'd like. But it sounds like your mum's baseline was pretty rubbish, and so she might be better, because if the pain's gone from the knee, which it may well go, you'll need painkillers initially, probably for about the first 6 weeks. But if she's on tramadol, you can hopefully start weaning that down, to other opioids until, because tramadol's not a very nice drug and it can make old people fall over. So I try not to use it, or try and get her off it as quickly as possible. But it's going to be about really good physio.
Why is it not a very nice drug? I got it prescribed for my back once. I don't remember.
It can send people off into another world. It can be really quite...
That's what I was hoping it did, but it didn't work.
And we always used to, in hospital, we used to say that tramadol makes old ladies fall over because they just get off balance and really dizzy with it.
Okay.
Yeah, she did have a fall in the summer. She fell out of her wheelchair. God, luckily one of the neighbours found her. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh, so okay, I've got a trip booked for 2 weeks. You're telling me now it's 3 months recovery, although mobility isn't in question here, unless she can stand up easier, because all she can do now is transfer herself from an electric wheelchair to an armchair or a bed or a toilet.
Right.
How is she in herself, Karen? Is she in good
becoming quite confused and vague. Dear. She's looking forward to the surgery because of the pain she's in. She's having to pay private for this, £20,000.
Well, that's the story of our times. Did she try and get it through the NHS, but it would have been like a 10-year wait or something?
Yeah. She said by the time her turn comes up, she would be dead.
That is a story of our times, isn't it? Isn't it? What's your mum's name, Karen?
Margaret.
Margaret. Well, give Margaret all our best, won't you? And I hope it all goes well. Maybe give us a call. Let us know. Renee will be in this time next week. Give us a ring.
Okay, that'd be great.
We'll look forward to talking to you.
Well, actually, it's in about 3 or 4 weeks she's having it done. So
okay. I'm here every week.
Well, she's here every Thursday.
Unless I'm in Malaga.
Yeah. She'll come around your house. How's that? She's always in Spain.
I've told you before, actually. I've actually talked to you before about, you start to think I'm a hypochondriac soon.
No, not at all. Not at all. We do get the odd hypochondriac rings in, and I can tell I'm an expert. You're not one of them.
I know. I imagine suffering from that as well,
Yeah. Karen, excellent to talk to you. Our best to Margaret, and keep in touch. Karen in Malaga there. Should we go to another? Yeah, let's go to another phone call. We've got quite a few written messages as well for you. This is Paul in Horsham. Hello, Paul. Speak to Dr. Renee.
Hello, Paul.
Hello, Dr. Renee. I'm glad you're not in Malaga.
How can I help?
She usually is, Paul.
Yeah, I know that.
She's always in Spain.
Some time ago we spoke about pain and tingling feelings in the neck, down both arms to the fingertips, from the belt line down past my buttocks, back of the leg, right down to my feet, basically. Yeah. You said to me, both legs? I said, yes, that's sciatica.
I said, get an MRI.
Legs. And you said, Yeah. So I saw my GP's colleague. He was too busy doing admin. And we spoke for 15 minutes. A scan wasn't mentioned. And then at the end of the meeting, I said, look, I've been talking to another doctor. I didn't mention her name. That's not professional. And a scan was mentioned. She said, and that's you. And she said, I will give you a scan when you walk back in my office trailing one of your legs behind.
Oh,
now, before I spoke to you, Dr. Renee, several months before, I asked my GP for a scan, and he said, no, it's too expensive. I said to him, are you paying for it?
I find this really bizarre.
That's interesting. Yeah, good question, Paul.
Because whilst as a GP we are gatekeepers to a degree to things, I never think, when I decide whether or not someone has a scan, I never think, do I do it because it's expensive or not? I just think, does the patient need it at this point in time? And actually, my other half is a spinal surgeon, and the one thing he's always taught me about sciatica is a red flag is it going down both legs. So
yes, that's what you said to me.
Yeah, so I would go back, I'd drag your leg in the room and say, right, I want an MRI, please.
That's what someone else said to me who isn't a doctor. You've got to lie, Paul, you've got to lie. But, what was I going to say? Yeah, so she did give me a neck x-ray. Now, the neck x-ray has turned from the reception desk on the telephone, it's abnormal. If symptoms persist, see your GP, which I'm seeing on the 5th. Yeah. And
so your neck x-ray is going to be like mine is now, as I sit here with Kevin with pain running down my left arm. It's going to be a degenerate neck. It's going to be bones that are wearing away, osteoarthritis. It's really common, and that will show on an x-ray. What won't show on an x-ray is what nerves it's touching. For that, you need an MRI.
Right, I need to put that to him. I googled this last night, and I just googled it straight away. I've got a abnormal X-ray on the spine, and the results back from that was blah blah blah. I don't know what, but you need a scan. So I'm going to print that off at the library tomorrow and take that on the 5th of Feb.
You need an MRI on both your lumbar spine and your cervical spine. It's as simple as that, Paul. You need to use those words. Don't say scan. Just say, I want an MRI. There's lots of different scans.
Okay, the other thing is I went in the other day to put a repeat prescription in, and at the same time I said, in a couple of days' time I'm going to bring in my firearms certificate renewal form for my doctor to sign off for me. How long will that take? That would take 2 to 3 days. I said, really? That's strange, because I booked an appointment to see my doctor on the 5th of February next month, and that is 23 days.
Well, I'll tell you what, Paul, I've got some sympathy with you there, because this can we get another prescription, repeat prescription? I mean, so I've got a couple of things going on right now, so I needed 2 repeat prescriptions. So I phoned my doctors the other day and said, "Can I go?" Oh no, we don't do it over the phone. You got to do it by email. I said, "All right, well, yeah, you've got to do it by email." So they then sent me this link, which was, it was all there, the chemist I want to pick it up from and all that kind. So I put in the 2 things and say, can they say? So we're now 3 days on. I phoned the chemist, no sign of it. I phoned the doctor. Let me have a look now. Oh yes, you did request that. Because I said to them at the time, I said, well, okay, so if I put in the email requesting these repeat prescriptions, how do I know when it's ready? Oh, you'll have to phone the pharmacy. So I said, what? So I just sort of take a guess.
Can you not do it in your app?
What app?
You can get an app that links you to your medical records.
What, an NHS app?
To your medical records, yeah. It's not the COVID one, it's another one.
I haven't got one. But anyway, the point is this is pretty straightforward stuff. So what I'm saying to you, Paul, is I sympathise, because this repeat prescription system seems to be all over the place.
I know, I don't understand this, and I do know it goes on all of the time. We've got we clear our prescriptions every day.
So do you take requests by email?
Our receptionist will take them by phone.
See, really?
Yeah.
My repeat.
It makes sense, doesn't it?
I take it manually to the doctor's surgery, and that is ready 2 days later. Day Lewis Pharmacy texts me, and I take it out of the machine. But I can't do that now because one of my meds comes out of the fridge, so I have to. I mean, I've got an 18-day waiting list at the pharmacy. That's my record.
18 days.
Now, yeah, now it's gone the other way. It's like 48 hours. They text me and say, "Yep, come and get it." It's gone the other way. Now I've got to wait 23 days to see my GP.
That is the thing, isn't it, Paul? And Renee, you'll be interesting on this. I mean, it just seems like, you know, what's happening? It's not much that's going on with me, but I just sort of feel like I get this sort of engagement at first from the doctor, and then it's like, "Oh, give me another appointment." "No, I'll ring you." "Well, when are you going to ring me?"
Yes, I don't do that.
Yeah, and it's like, "Well, when are you going to ring me?" "I don't know." "I'll send an email," and all this. It's like you feel like you get this engagement, and then it's just like off you go, and you feel like you're cast aside and nobody's interested anymore.
I know,
it's a bit odd, isn't it?
It's an exercise in inefficiency, isn't it? All of it. You know, and what's also frustrating, I think, is that it varies so much from practice to practice, and it really does vary so much. The GP practice that I'm registered at as a patient, you can't make appointments by phone.
Yeah.
You've got to. Not long term. Oh, sorry, you can make on the day emergency, but you can't make an appointment in 3 weeks' time.
It's ridiculous. Hey, listen, Paul, well, look, we had some common ground there, didn't we? Listen, good luck, mate, and keep in touch. Get an MRI and keep in touch with us, yeah?
Okay, thank you.
All right, mate, good to talk, Look after yourself. That's Paul in Horsham. Everybody, you know, it's call Dr. Renee. If you have any medical issues, she's here to answer all your health problems. 0344 499 1000. Doesn't matter what they are, whether it's you or a friend or a loved one, she's here to help. 0344 499 1000. The surgery is open. Get on the blower. We're going to go to break now, and we'll return to the surgery after these messages.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
welcome back. It's Call Dr. Renee. The surgery is open. Get on the phone and call her with any of your medical problems. 03444991000. First of all, we're going to go to Thomas in Northern Ireland. Hello, Thomas. Talk to Dr. Renee.
Hi.
Hello, Thomas.
Good
How
evening.
can I help?
Good evening, Dr. Renee. First of all, it's nice to talk to you.
Well, with that accent, I could listen to that all night, Thomas, so you carry on.
Thank you very much.
You had open heart surgery a couple of years ago, or 4 years ago, yeah?
Yeah. I had heart surgery, open heart surgery, triple bypass done in 2020 in December 2020. Previous to that, I had a major heart attack in 2017. It was the January, 2 stents deployed. And as I say, more recently in the Blackrock surgery in Dublin, the NHS sent me from the Royal Victoria to Dublin to get the surgery done, which was good. And I was told on the actual day that I got the angiogram done that I was 99% closed over in the artery, and I was kept in hospital for 5 weeks until I subsequently received the surgery. Again, which was good. It was quite rapid. The treatment worked pretty well, but I haven't seen a surgeon, a consultant, a doctor since I left hospital.
And you left hospital when, Thomas?
I left the Blackrock surgery a week before Christmas in 2020.
Have you tried to see doctors, Thomas?
Yes, I have phoned my surgeon's secretary in the Dundonald Hospital outside Belfast, no less than 6 times. A couple of times he was actually skiing. He's been on holiday.
I mean, people are allowed to have holidays.
Yeah. He's been on civil.
To be fair.
You know.
But it's pretty bad that he hasn't been able to see anyone for 4 years. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, I know.
mean, for 4 years, they
just drop you.
For 4 years. You have to be, they have a duty of care to their patients. 4 years is a wee bit.
Northern Ireland is particularly bad. If you think we're bad over here, Northern Ireland's NHS is absolutely shocking.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, their wait lists are like as Thomas is now experiencing. Have you spoken to your GP, Thomas, about them getting you back in for a review?
To be honest, my GP resides in Newcastle County Line beside the Mourns, and again, I don't know what they're up to, but I haven't seen my doctor in over 2.5 years now. And the last time I actually seen him, it was for tachycardia. It was for an ectopic beat, and which I got concerned about after I'd walking the dog. I was starting to get palpitations in my chest and pumps in my chest.
Presumably, Thomas, you're taking lots of medications.
No, I'm actually on 3.5 bisoprolol. I'm on an aspirin tablet a day, and I'm on a blood pressure tablet a day, which is quite good. And I'm on like a cholesterol tablet, Azatembi-10.
Right, so you are taking medication. So those medications that you've just listed need yearly blood checks.
Yeah, but I haven't had those.
How can he go about trying to rectify this absence of medical treatment?
Well, it's got to be via the GP.
You can't get to see him. You're always maybe directed to a practitioner or nurse or just to get your medications dispensed, but that's the height of it.
So you phone your GP, yeah? And then what happens?
The first protocol for anybody that's had open heart surgery, which is major surgery, is to go back to the consultant and contact them through their secretary here, hopefully, and try and put a word in his ear to see Thomas, but it's not happening.
What's the best course of action, Renee, here?
I mean, look, I think I'd probably just phone your GP and say you're having chest pain, you need to be reviewed. I mean, I know that's not the truth, but, you don't want to get to the point where you've actually... Because sometimes with people like you, Thomas, what happens is that furred up arteries, once you've had the surgery, start to fur up again. So the last thing you want is to be in an ambulance on your way to hospital because you've had another heart attack.
No, I don't want that. No.
Yeah, so I think what Renee's saying, Thomas, is you need to phone your GP and, I'm sure we shouldn't really be saying this, but you need to tell a little white lie. You need to say you're having heart palpitations because at least that might wake them up and say, we've got to see this guy. What do you reckon? Try that.
Well,
am I right, Renee?
Yes, totally.
Yeah.
Well, tachycardia is heart palpitations, so...
Yeah, well, tell them that. Tell them that. I mean, we get a lot of people, say, I just can't see my GP, and it's frustrating. But Renee's advice is always, you've just got to keep pounding the phone.
What about writing to your local MP?
Well, I mean, my local MP is up in court next month, so for some undesirable behaviour, so I don't think that's going to work. Unfortunately,
you're not making this easy, Thomas.
Sorry.
I think you've got to move, Thomas. Sorry.
Probably. I used to live in Newcastle upon Tyne.
Well, I think you better get over there again. No, seriously, I think the advice is, isn't it, Renee? Get on the phone to your GP, tell them you're having palpitations and you need to see someone fast. Try that. Yeah?
Okay.
Good luck, Thomas.
All right, mate. Well, best of luck. Keep in touch. Look after yourself. Thomas in Northern Ireland. I mean, poor guy, but this is the story, isn't it? I mean, it's what I was just talking about, in a much, much more minor way. But there is always this feeling, you engage with a doctor, and after the initial engagement, they just sort of drift out of your life, and you can't, you need follow-ups. How's the treatment going? They're not around.
I mean, I've never heard anyone with that kind of cardiac history not having regular follow-up with cardiology. I mean, that's very unusual.
Yeah.
But things are very bad in Northern Ireland.
Quite clearly, quite clear. Phone your MP. Oh, he's in court. Right, well, let's go back to the phones and let's talk to Andrew in Derbyshire, who I have a note here. Hello, Andrew. Talk to Dr. Renee. I gather you're having breathing issues. Talk to the doctor.
Hello, Andrew.
Yes, that's right. Hi, Renee. About 3 years ago, I suddenly had breathing difficulties, just out of the blue, really. And I kept on with it a bit until this August. Went to see the doctor. He said, "You've got asthma." Gave me a puffer. And in October, I was in London, and I went into a walk-in centre because I was having problems. And they sent me to A&E, and I was 6 days at Charing Cross, and that worked. And then I got back here a week later, and I must have got an infection because they gave me some antibiotics for that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd had the antibiotics in the hospital, and I had antibiotics in December, I think, this year. And it's come back again. You know what I mean? It's a lot of phlegm and all that sort of nonsense, and very serious breathing difficulties when it's cold.
Okay.
For instance, I just got in and I'm cold now.
Okay, so there's two different things going on there. So people with asthma do find it harder to breathe when it's cold. It doesn't necessarily correlate that every time you get a cold and get snotty and everything, that it actually is an infection that needs antibiotics. Those two things are not necessarily the same. Can I just ask, how many inhalers are you using?
I used one I use in the morning and the evening. It's a long-term one.
What colour is it?
And then I've got a dry puffer thing which I use not very often.
What colour is the one that you use morning and evening?
Brown, I think.
Okay. Okay, Andrew, I need to keep you near the phone, so.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, you've got to be on the phone. Otherwise we can't hear you, Andrew.
Brown makes sense. So brown is a steroid, and you're right, that's the one that you take morning and evening. But if you're still getting symptoms, which it sounds like you are, I don't know why you're using a powder puffer, because
it doesn't do anything.
No.
It doesn't do anything.
So I would actually go, if it is asthma, your diagnosis, and not COPD. Have you been a smoker?
Yes, mild COPD and mild emphysema.
Okay, so that makes it slightly different, Andrew, because there will be a degree of breathlessness with COPD, which actually you usually never can get back from.
Yes, no, they did a scan on me, and the lady said, "Don't worry, it'll improve." And I said, well, I've read it doesn't improve.
Well, it depends.
Said, no, it might. So I thought, well, is that just getting me out of there?
Okay, so stopping smoking is the most important thing you can do with COPD.
Yes, no, I've done all that.
Okay, but what you should do, I think, if you've got COPD and you are getting regular infections, you should speak to your GP at having a rescue pack at home. And that involves an antibiotic and sometimes a steroid that you take when you have that first cold, so that it doesn't get worse and you end up in hospital. So that's one thing I would do, depending on how reversible your symptoms still are. And the only way you'll know that is by having spirometry testing. So your GP can also organise that. Is you may still benefit from an inhaler, something like Seretide, which has got a long-acting beta blocker in it and a steroid, and that could make all the difference. You'd get rid of the brown one, you'd replace it with a purple one.
Okay, thank
so
you.
You want some spirometry, you want a rescue pack, and you possibly want to move up to Seretide.
Sound good, Andrew?
Written all that down. Thank you very much indeed.
Well, thank you for ringing, Andrew. Look after yourself. Keep in touch. Bye-bye. Andrew in Derbyshire there. Well, that was very good advice, very direct, and I think that was a very satisfied patient. We're going to go to break now. When we come back, more of your calls. Call Dr. Renee on 03444 99 1000. The surgery is open. That next. Stay tuned.
Difficult problem the government have is there's a gap in the fact that, you know, the budget massively put up taxes, but also massively put up spending. But if you look at the forecasts of GDP figures that were published last November, you know, by the end of this parliament, the public spending is dropping off, or not going up as quickly as you'd think it was. And then, you know, you're completely right to say, you know, Michael Leary is completely right as well to say, look, well, all this stuff that was announced yesterday is going to take 20 years perhaps to kick in. There's going to be a big gap in the middle.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. We're going to go back to the phones in a little while, but I do ask you to write in if you want to, if you prefer to just send a text. So let's do a couple of these, Renee. This is from Sam in Barnsley. Dr. Renee, prostate cancer treatment finished... that's not quite... Hang on. Prostate cancer treatment finished due to last... anyway, he had his last Prostap injection last March. Does that mean...
That's a hormone suppressor.
How long until the effects wear off? And basically...
Yeah, that...
Well, anyway, how long till the effects
Okay,
wear?
so prostatapic injection...
normal functioning returns. It's not all that Sam hasn't really...
So I actually had this similar question the other day from a patient of mine, actually, because they are 6 months post their last injection. The injection suppresses all of your male hormones. So you almost go into menopause, as it were, and you also get erectile dysfunction and stuff like that.
Right.
It's not nice.
So that's what Sam is. Yeah, okay.
So I had a look, and it looks like you could be looking up to a year for everything to get back to normal, but there are some cases where it doesn't always.
So, Sam, as I can work out, you had your injection last March. So I think what Renee's saying is, with a bit of luck, come March, you might be back firing on all cylinders, but be careful. So basically, the effects hopefully wear off in March, right, after a year, yeah? Okay, so watch that one. And here's one from Greg. I suffer from tinnitus badly. It causes headaches, anxiety and depression. NHS were useless, as they suggested a CBT book. I don't know what that is. Is there a device that will help? Tinnisooth at 400 quid. So far, white noise has been useless. Greg in Cheshire.
I mean, look, Greg, tinnitus is really, really hard because it's a sound that's been generated in your own head, and we really, really struggle to treat it. And the treatments generally range, as you rightly say, to cognitive behaviour therapy, where they try and teach you to zone out from the sound, because they're never treating the sound itself. There are some tablets that can be used to actually, affect the nerves around the ear. There are some antidepressants that they use, but it's very hit and miss tinnitus. Masking, so playing the radio at night so that you have other noise in the bedroom. When most people hear tinnitus worse at night, it's a really, really tricky one.
Okay, well, best of luck, Greg, and keep in touch. Let's go back to the phones. It's called Dr. Renee, and calling Dr. Renee now is Joe from East London. Hello, Joe. You've had a throat infection for 3 years. Talk to Dr. Renee.
Hello, Joe.
Hi. Yes, I got it 3 years ago. I've had 6 courses of antibiotics, etc. New Year's Eve, I had the camera down my throat, and they said it's thrush.
Right.
And
well, the antibiotics aren't going to work, are they? They're going to make that worse.
Will they?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Yes.
I think I had too many antibiotics. But nothing they've given me, has shifted it. And you can imagine what I cough up. It's terrible. And
So essentially, one of the worst things for thrush is an antibiotic.
Why is that?
Because what it does is it kills all the good bacteria, and it allows the thrush to just take over, because the thrush doesn't get killed by... so a lot of women, when they have...
thrush,
they get thrush when they have an antibiotic. It's really common. So no more antibiotics, I would say. Are they giving you any oral treatments for the thrush? Any tablets?
yes, they give me a course of tablets. I haven't got them in front of me. It begins with
fluconazole.
That's it. And to take them for 2 weeks, if it hasn't cleared up, finish the course for a month. And it's finished, and if anything, it's got worse.
I mean, it sounds absolutely horrific. I think you definitely need to go back, and you need to see a respiratory specialist for this, because there's obviously some reason why they can't clear it. I would imagine they're going to have to do a biopsy, and they're going to have a look what type of thrush it is, because there's all different species. It's not just one. So it may just be that the species that you've suddenly got colonised by is not being treated by the fluconazole.
Yeah. I think the problem was right at the beginning where you said about antibiotics. This was a telephone appointment at the time, if you can remember, 2022.
You wouldn't get antibiotics off me over the phone, not for a throat infection.
No, that's what I got. And then I tried the second lot was stronger than the first lot, and then I ended up with actually 6 courses, and now we know it's made it worse.
Yeah. I mean, just really... And you're not using any inhalers or anything that could be aggravating it?
No.
OK, because some people who use asthma inhalers get thrush at the back of their throat and in their mouth. You're not taking any other drugs that could be causing it?
No, not that I know of.
OK. So I think you're going to need a respiratory consultant. They might need to take a biopsy, but certainly they're going to need to find out why they can't clear this for you. Very unusual you are.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I bet you're pleased about that, aren't you? All right, Joe. Well, listen, do what the doctor said, and maybe give us a call next week. Let us know how it goes, and look after yourself. Yeah, that's Joe in East London. There. Yeah, we got time. Let's go to Trevor in Swindon, who's had major hip surgery. Trevor, talk to Dr. Renee.
Hello, Trevor.
Hello, Dr. Renee. Yes, on the 6th of December, I had a total hip replacement. I've been doing all the necessary exercise, and my leg itself is back to normal size, but the foot is still quite swollen. And when I flex my foot, it feels very tight and taut.
Well, it will if it's swollen, because it's literally fluid in there, and that's why it's feeling like that. Has that foot been swollen since you had the surgery, or was it before then?
Well, I had the surgery, and then it swelled up.
All right, and I assume
the leg itself is normal size.
Okay, I assume they checked you out after that for DVT. Make sure you haven't got a clot going on there.
Yes, they did. They checked me out. I had a scan.
Good. Okay, because obviously that's important. When you've had major surgery, you are at risk for a DVT. Are you having physio?
Well, I'm doing my own physio at home. I've got a whole series of exercises that I do on a regular basis, morning and evening.
Okay. I mean, it probably just is healing, and there's still some fluid being generated around the hip that then actually is just making its way down your leg, and that's why it's in your ankle. But I think I'd be tempted to ask to see a physio face-to-face, you know, one that actually puts hands on you and just tries to work out what's going on, because it does sound quite a long time for it to still be swollen and just the foot.
Yes, it's just the foot. And when I do the flexing of the foot backwards and forward, it just feels like a tight bit of leather or plastic.
That's the fluid inside, because it's just stretching all of the skin.
Yes, it's very, very, very tight and taut.
I think I'd be tempted to get an opinion on it, Frank, to be honest.
Well, I'm going up to the hospital on the 5th of February.
Okay.
For that's already booked, so I've got to see them then.
All right. Well, good luck.
Bring that up, obviously, Trevor, and maybe 5th of February. Well, after that, give us a call. Let us know how it goes. All the best. Keep in touch. Thank you very much for the call. That's Trevor in Swindon. And finally, my feet swelled up when I was in Barbados recently. Yeah, let's do next week. We're going to do not call Dr. Ray. Kev talks to Dr. Renee about his many ailments. I bet it sounded like I'm some sort of invalid. Honestly, there's not much wrong with me. I'm just a hypochondriac.
But he's got some nice socks.
Actually, I'm the opposite of a hypochondriac. I'm a bloke. I ignore ailments as much as I possibly can. But I've got some pressing issues right now, most of them mental. Right, let's go to Gary, and he's in Portsmouth. Hi, Gary. You've got chronic pancreatic pain. Talk to Dr. Renee.
Hello, Gary.
Hi, Kev. Hi, Renee.
Hi.
Hi. Yeah, I've had this condition for like sort of 10, 12 years, and it comes and goes with mild to medium to, really intense pain. Now, I'm currently on Oromorph, which I take, the recommended dose, they say 5 to 10 mil, but sometimes I have to up it. And a paramedic, when I had to wait 14 hours, suggested, why didn't I, why wasn't I put on lorazepam? And I tell you, I've been on lorazepam for a couple of months now, and the difference it's made to my condition and the pain levels and the comfort. Is there any other combination that isn't like as, because they say lorazepam is quite addictive and
it's very addictive. I mean, I wouldn't take a benzodiazepine.
It's a painkiller, is it?
It's not really. It's a sedative.
Okay.
It's the same as diazepam.
Okay.
It's one of those. And there's a few reasons I wouldn't take it. One, it is massively addictive. And when you've been on lorazepam or any of those for a long time, you have to wean off over as long as a year.
Blimey.
It's that difficult to get off. And there is also a link to dementia longer term. So it's not a drug that I would particularly want to take. Why have you got pancreatic pain? Have you got pancreatitis that's recurring?
Well, I had my gallbladder removed and a section of my pancreas removed back in May 10. And it's just been going on from them. And you know, I thought things would get better. I've tried different combinations of foods and drinks, and it hasn't made much difference.
Do you take Creon?
Yes.
Okay.
25,000.
So the pancreas...
we've got 30 seconds, so what are you going to tell Gary?
I would say I don't know any other options for painkillers, because it sounds like you've tried it all, but I wouldn't stay long term on lorazepam. I'm sorry, Gary.
So try something else, Gary.
Is there any lesser form but as effective than lorazepam?
They're all addictive.
So, sorry, Gary.
Sorry.
Couldn't be much help there, but sympathy to you. Thank you for the call, but I'm going to have to go because we need to go to the news. Thank you very much, Gary in Portsmouth. Thank you to all of you for ringing. Call Dr. Renee will be back next Thursday, same time, same place, right here on the Political Asylum from 8 until 9 p.m. Thank you very much, Doctor. It's been another fantastic surgery. When we come back after the news, I'm going live to Los Angeles to talk to Kinsey Schofield about the latest disasters on the Harry and Meghan front. Stay tuned for that.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. This is the final hour of tonight's Political Asylum. Thank you so much for your company tonight. So 60 sizzling minutes still to go. And I do believe that in 1 hour, instead of the Petrie Hoskins, the wonderful Petrie Hoskins, it is, of course, the less than wonderful, no, I'm only joking, the wonderful Andre Walker, who I think will be here with Ash. So they'll be in an hour or so, 55 minutes or so, to let you know what they've got lined up for you. So be prepared. Now, before that, though, we're going to be taking a lot of your calls in about 20 minutes, 25 minutes or so. You know what we're talking about tonight? We're talking about, well, what about Donald Trump? suggesting that the problem with that air crash in Washington was that the air traffic controllers over there, the Federal Aviation Authority, has had a policy of hiring people not for their abilities but their disabilities. In other words, it's wokery, it's diversity gone mad. These are jobs that must only be decided on merit. You know, these people's lives are at stake. So Trump and the Vice President, J.D. Vance, are suggesting that people of less ability were hired because of their disabilities and therefore lives were compromised. If that's true, that's a serious scandal. It's when wokery went too far, isn't it? I mean, will this be the shocking incident, the shocking tragedy that wakes up the world to the horror of woeful wokery, that it can be insane? If what the President and the Vice President are saying is true, that people of lesser ability were hired because of their disabilities, then that is wokery gone mad, and it mustn't continue. 03444991000. Also, Nigel Farage fuming. The Labour government has cancelled 13 of the 29 elections, local elections, due to be held on May the 1st. This is because they're going to get beaten in all of them. They're going to get thrashed. And by the way, who's supporting the government on this? The Tories, because they're going to get thrashed too by Reform UK. So this is Keir Starmer's method of tackling the rise of Reform, to cancel the elections in which Reform would have beaten him. In other words, to cancel democracy. What do you think about that? 03444991000. Plus the lunacy of our migrant crisis. It goes from bad to worse. And now Keir Starmer is passing a new law, all aimed at smashing the bloody gangs. It's not going to work. Stop the migrants. You can smash all the gangs you like. There'll be new ones tomorrow. This government is going exactly at this crisis the wrong way. It's migrants, stop the migrants, then you smash the gangs, because the gangs will have nobody to profit from, nobody to take across the channel. See what I'm saying? 03444991000. Are you happy that we're shelling out £4 million a year, £3,000 every day, that's you, me, taxpayers, every day, on clothes and shoes for migrants? So not only do we give them free food, free doctors, free hotels, free dentists, free lawyers, we're now paying for their wardrobes. Free clothes. Your thoughts on that? 03444991000. And Rachel Rubbish, as Michael O'Leary, the Ryanair boss, called her. Does she have a clue about growth? These ridiculous plans about railway lines to Milton Keynes and roads to Buckinghamshire. You know, that's not going to promote growth. She killed off all growth, didn't she, last October with that grotesque £43 billion tax grab budget. 03444991000. We're going to hell in a handcart, folks, courtesy of these crazy socialists. Ed Miliband, what's he doing anywhere near government? Really? 03444991000. Now, before we get to you, to the phone calls and the messages, I'll read some messages out as well. Let's go live to Los Angeles, and talk to a royal commentator, absolute expert on all matters royal, Kinsey Schofield. Welcome to the show, Kinsey.
Hi, Kev. I liked the voice. It was very Hollywood.
Yeah,
live.
Live. It's like Saturday Night Live, yeah. So, listen, we still need to discuss the fallout from Vanity Fair. I mean, it really does seem to have brought Meghan's showbiz ambitions to an abrupt halt. So we'll do that in a little while. We also need to discuss the reopening of the case against Harry in terms of his American visa, because now there's a new president, the Heritage Foundation, the think tank in Washington, which has been pursuing this case in the court, saying we need to see the prince's visa application, because either he told the truth, that he's a drug taker, that he takes cocaine, cannabis and magic mushrooms, in which case Why was he ever allowed into America? Because that's against the rules. Or he lied on his visa application and pretended he'd never taken drugs, which frankly is what a lot of people do. If he did that, then that's a serious federal offence and he should be kicked out of the country. Now, of course, Joe Biden, being he's ever so humble, you know, he sort of kowtowed to Harry and said, oh, he's safe, he can stay here forever, because he's a member of the royal family. How does that fit in with the American dream? You're not supposed to look up to aristocrats. We don't, even in Britain, so why would Americans? Biden kowtowed to him. Donald Trump, not so much. Donald Trump basically said he's on his own. So seriously, Harry could be fearing for his future in America because Trump says he won't help him if the courts decide that this visa is revealed, and if it's got the wrong information on it, he's toast, he's in trouble. But first, let's get to the gruesome twosomes roasting in Hollywood, where a comedian has basically humiliated them in front of a star-studded audience. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, so this is comedian John Mulaney. I hope I'm pronouncing it right, because every time it comes out of my mouth, it feels like I'm not pronouncing it right. But he has a new... He's worked with Netflix before, and they liked what he did, so they are giving him his own talk show in 2025. And this was basically Netflix's upfronts event, where they are showing off all of their new programming that they're proud of. They're trying to engage investors. They're trying to get other members of the Netflix family excited about the upcoming programs. And he stood on the stage and promoting his own, variety talk show, joked, not since Harry and Meghan has Netflix given more money to someone without a specific plan. And there's Ben Affleck in the audience. Speaking of Saturday Night Live, Tina Fey is in the audience from Saturday Night Live. A lot of A-list talent is there to party for Netflix. Harry and Meghan mysteriously not in the building, even though Meghan's got a project on the horizon. Hello, if I'm trying to ensure that my contract is renewed in 2025, I'm at that event kissing feet, okay? So Harry and Meghan weren't there at this upfronts event. And when the comedian made this joke, audible gasps in the room, laughter, whoa.
Yeah, a few people went, whoa, yeah. I mean, but it's John Mulaney, and he's calling it like it is, isn't it? He clearly has got a glittering career at Netflix. Frankly, Harry and Meghan, not so much, particularly Meghan, whose show Meghan with Love is on the back burner now, to say the least. His show's coming out, as you say. He said to this star-studded audience to launch his chat show, this will be the one place where you might see Arnold Schwarzenegger sitting next to Nikki Glaser, sitting next to a family therapist with music by Mannequin Pussy. This is a really fun experiment. Not since Harry and Meghan has Netflix given more money to someone without a specific plan. I mean, that's sticking the dagger in, isn't it?
Well, let me tell you why this is really digging the dagger in, because he said a lot last night. But if you look at the headlines that were generated from this Netflix event in the trades, you and I know it's inside baseball to a lot of people, but you and I talk about this all the time. When we reference how relevant a mention in the Hollywood Reporter is to Harry and Meghan, it's because agents are reading it, producers are reading it, entertainment investors are reading it. It's people that they are desperate to attract, people that they want to work with. And when you look at media from the event that happened last night at Netflix, in Variety, who gave Meghan Markle a glossy cover right after the death of Queen Elizabeth II, The Hollywood Reporter, Deadline, all of these people, the quote that they pulled, their headlines, are related to Harry and Meghan taking another punch. And so that is why this is relevant, because here they are yet again, the butt of the joke, and they are being humiliated in front of people that they're so desperate to get them to take seriously. And they're not going to if they continue to get kicked kicked around the way that they do, because don't forget, Joe Coy made I think it was at the Golden Globes, made a very similar joke, like eye to eye with the guy from Netflix, saying that, Harry and Meghan were given an ungodly amount of money for producing very little and not knowing what they were doing.
Yeah, well, that's for damn sure. We'll get to Harry in a minute. Let's talk about Meghan. I've just recorded my smash hit show, What Just Happened. And, my usual sparring partner, the guy I have a punch up with every week, Simon London, who's a bit of a Harry and Meghan fan.
But also like a total cuddle bug. We can't all hate him, okay?
Yeah, he's not a great enemy because he's quite likeable, but he does come out with some real old crap. So, but he's a big Harry and Meghan fan. And I said to him this, I said, look, you know how showbiz works, right? You can bob, you can weave, you can duck, you can dive, but in showbiz, but in the end, mud sticks, the poison sticks, and she's become toxic. Now, the reason she's toxic is everybody now believes she is the bullying boss from hell, and they don't like it. Now, to trace this back, she was first accused of being a bully to palace staff when she was a frontline royal here in Britain.
Catherine.
Yeah, she did, and she made Kate, the Princess of Wales, cry at one point, allegedly. Well, I think it's probably true. It was a row about a bridesmaid dress, wasn't it? And anyway, so that was all sort of denied. The Queen actually ordered an official external investigation, the results of which have never been revealed or published. Before they were published, the gruesome twosome hightailed it to Canada and then down to your neck of the woods, California, and the rest is history. So they arrived with that, the spectre of that hanging over them, that she was a bully to palace staff.
Which she was able to say was a smear campaign because the British tabloids were racist and out to get.
Exactly, racist smear campaign. So that was the denial there. She comes to America, Montecito. The Hollywood Reporter last September comes up with this massive investigation. I think it was 12 members of staff, 11 former members and one current member, calling her a tyrant in high heels, prone to 5 a.m. tantrums, who reduced grown men to tears. So that was, the very respected publication. People in Tinseltown going, hang on a minute, there's something wrong with this woman. They deny it. She denied, this was sort of...
an article in Us Weekly magazine.
Yeah, saying, these are people with an axe to grind, they've got an angle, no, not true. Now, as we now know, 8,000 words in the current edition of the American Bible of magazines, Vanity Fair, saying that there it is, American Hustle, that she's such a bully that she reduced one member of staff to having to go into long-term therapy. Many more said they had to quit, traumatised by the way she treated them. Now, this time, no denial, just Harry and Meghan are distressed. The point is, you can get away with it once. You might just be able to wriggle out of it twice. Third time, unlucky. Hollywood has now decided she is toxic, and I would suggest that's why Netflix have delayed her lifestyle show, Meghan with Love, until March the 4th. Because of the bad publicity, and that's why Lemonada have delayed her podcast, the second series of that boring crap, Archetypes, indefinitely, because they think, this is my view, they're corporations, they're cash conscious, they think she's unsellable amid this avalanche of dreadful publicity. She's all washed up in Tinseltown, isn't she?
And Penguin Random House, apparently that 4-book deal that we heard about, I believe it was in 2021. What was the word that was used? Dissipated or dissolved? Page 6 reporting that book deal is likely not to see any new content developed from it. So it's a postponed show. It's a potentially you're suggesting potentially forever postponed podcast. And where's book number 2 of this 4-book deal that we heard about? Yeah, no, and it wasn't actually the Hollywood Reporter. The Hollywood Reporter was a complete out of nowhere slap in the face, but remember, it was the Wrap.
That's right, the podcast, right?
Well, there was Puck, but there was the Puck podcast. But the Wrap is another industry site that said that there were issues behind the scenes, and that article didn't blow up. But when the Hollywood Reporter article came out, then everybody started to reference the Wrap article, going, okay, well, can she say going forward that this is a UK tabloid smear campaign when now 2 American industry outlets are reporting that she's difficult to deal with behind the scenes or collaborate with? Now, Vanity Fair, that is just a punch in the gut, because you've got 3 American outlets now and you have to read between the lines of the loss of the Spotify deal. You know, if you are a joy to work with, people figure it out. And they were happy to cut Harry and Meghan off after 12 episodes and a very bizarre Christmas special. And Harry and Meghan brought them a lot of PR, mostly negative, but a lot of public, they got a lot of ink out of that relationship. They continue to. So I do think that, I don't know where she goes from here, because people have already made up their mind about her. You can't show up and kick around the ashes of Pasadena and think that everybody's going to change their mind about you. People have determined that she's a troublemaker and she's not very kind.
Yeah, and the latest sort of the straw that might have broke the camel's back, I think it was actually Vanity Fair. But to make matters worse, when they both turned up sifting through the ashes of fire-ravaged Los Angeles, basically walking through people's homes, there they are. It's actually puke-making looking at that. A photo op at the expense of poor LA. Shocked locals, furious locals. A lot of them, my friends, I've spoken to them. The general feeling was that these 2, as Justin Bateman said, disaster tourists. They were also called grief grifters and tragedy vultures. People were appalled by that. She didn't get the memo. She went back another day. He then went to visit a fire station. They just don't get it. People don't want to see you there. It's not right. It's all wrong. Now, meanwhile, Vanity Fair also said that Harry has now just lost all interest in Meghan's pursuit of fame and fortune in Tinseltown. He just wants to go on royal tours and kiss babies and shake hands. He's lost all interest. And she wants him to stop his sort of war against the tabloids, his legal war. But more to the point, he's got his own legal problems now with the Heritage Foundation relaunching its bid to have his US residency application made public. And I would say in Trump's America, this time that legal case is likely to succeed. We'll get to see his visa application, and if he lied on it, Donald Trump said he won't help him. That could mean he gets kicked out of America.
And Niall Gardner said he was going to encourage Donald Trump to deport him. Yeah, the Heritage Foundation sued the Department of Homeland Security to force the release of Prince Harry's visa records. A judge sided with DHS, and we assumed that was the end of it. But thanks to these court documents we saw a few months ago, we know that the Biden administration privately submitted secret documents to the judge before he made that decision in their favor. And the Heritage Foundation, this is what we're going to see February the 5th, is demanding that judgment be vacated and not only Harry's visa case be re-examined, but the Heritage Foundation wants to see, once unsealed, the private correspondence between Biden's DHS and the judge. So the lawyers for the Heritage Foundation and the Department of Homeland Security have been ordered by the judge to meet at a federal court in Washington, D.C. next Wednesday. So plenty of content for us to talk about next week, I imagine.
There always is, Kinsey. And let me tell you, as someone who once did this, let me tell you why a lot of British people head to your fine country, because they're sick to death of this kowtowing, forelock-touching class system that saturates this country, that we're supposed to look up to the ginger whinger just because he's a member of the royal family, just because he's an aristocrat. And the reason that people like me go to America is because that kind of class structure is un-American. You do not look up to people just because of who their parents are. And yet Joe Biden pursued that un-American course of action, giving the ginger whinger, just because he's a member of the royal family, special treatment. Un-American, that, wasn't it?
Well,
yeah.
I'm going to say, like, perhaps Joe Biden looked at him and saw a little hunter in there somewhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he gives his son special treatment. Might as well give Harry special treatment as well.
Might as well. I'm surprised Harry didn't get a pardon on the way out, if I'm being honest.
You're so right, yeah.
Everybody else did.
Yeah, maybe Joe will come back from beyond the presidential grave, and just as Harry's about to get kicked out, he'll go, I'm pardoning him. No, Joe, you can't pardon any more people, even though you've pardoned your entire crime cartel family. Go away, and by the way, don't give $50 million worth of condoms to any more foreign countries. How about... What was that about?
I was horrified. I was like, really? That's where my tax dollars are going?
Yeah.
You know, I also saw, when you were talking about people fleeing to my country, how, I don't remember who said it over there, but somebody in your neck of the woods said that using the term like two-tier justice system is racist. And I don't think so. I think it's okay to recognize that people are getting special treatment.
Yeah.
You know, there are, before Donald Trump got back into the White House, there were people that were here illegally that had better insurance than I did. And I'm struggling to pay insurance. You know what I mean? So it's okay to make those. It's okay to make those.
We will call. If you suspect, we have two-tier policing here. You know, different treatments for people of colour, ethnic communities, and white people. We definitely have that. Joe Biden, two-tier justice, special treatment for Prince Harry. Over here, we just say two-tier policing. That's wrong. We've been told by our Home Office, Department of Home Security, that for thinking that we're right-wing extremists. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, then. All right, then. Listen, Kinsey, always a pleasure to talk to you. That's great stuff. Have a lovely weekend. We'll talk again next week. Kinsey Schofield with more on Harry and Meghan. Strong stuff there. Next up, we're going to go to break now, and we will come back with your phone calls. We're back to the news agenda today. You know what we're talking about. And also, I'll read some of your messages. Two-tier policing, hate crimes. You want to talk about the migrant crisis? £3,000 every day. £3,000 every day. We, the taxpayer, shell out for socks and clothes for migrants. That's as well as paying for their accommodation, their food, their lawyers, their doctors and their dentists. That's good, isn't it? So 0344 499 1000. And do you think that Rachel from accounts has even a clue what she's doing? And the answer to that question is, of course she doesn't. But let me know what you think. And what about Nigel Farage? He's quite right, isn't he? This attack on democracy. The Labour government running scared because they know they're going to get thrashed, humiliated by Reform UK. They got 29 local elections coming up, boroughs and cities around the country. What's Keir Starmer's approach to the fact they're going to get a shellacking? Cancel 13 of them. That's an assault on democracy. It's disgusting. What do you think? 0344 499 1000. We'll go to break now, and I'll be talking to you, the people that matter, the audience, after these messages. Stay exactly where you are.
have two stores, one in Cobham and one in Wimbledon, and they were targeted by the same men. They came in armed with tools, cut through our security wires because all the bags are attached with security wires. They knew what they were doing, what they were looking for. We have, security alarms. We've got panic buttons. We've pressed those. We've got amazing CCTV, which you can see, and yet the police just didn't come.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. So for the next half an hour or so, it's all over to you. I'll read some messages. I think we might have some voice notes as well. But let's go straight to a call. And let's talk to Angie in Plymouth. Hello, Angie.
Oh, hi, Kevin. Thank you so much for having me on.
Oh, you're very welcome.
I just want to share a very disturbing incident that happened today.
Yep.
I've got 6 grown-up children, 8 beautiful grandchildren. Our youngest child, Oliver, is severely handicapped. He is generally autistic. He has the mental age of a 10-year-old.
Right.
And he was at his day centre today, which...
I'm sorry, how old is he in actual fact?
He's actually 33.
Oh, OK, so he's at his day centre, yeah?
Yeah, and he was at his day centre, of which our 5th child, David, is actually a manager. And we were going to go and pick him up at 3:30 this afternoon, as usual. But we got a knock at the door this afternoon, and there were 2 police officers on our doorstep.
What? Why?
And, well, they asked to come in, so I let them in. And they then said that they had come to arrest Oliver because he had committed a hate crime.
Oh, come on. What's he supposed to have done?
So, OK, I mean, he does have, we're not very IT things. But anyway, so basically, in the summer, he had said something about Keir Starmer, that he should be killed or something. We knew nothing about this. But because of something else that he'd said about Exeter City, because we live in Plymouth, we'd already banned him and said, right, we've warned you. So we'd taken him off his thing, OK? So he wasn't allowed. So this is going back 5 months.
So what the coppers had come to essentially try to arrest him for something he said about Keir Starmer that wasn't very nice, right?
Yeah, about 5 months ago. Meanwhile, he hadn't said something nice about Exeter City, so we banned him from it anyway. So he hasn't been online for 5 months. So my husband I phoned my son David, who's managed the day centre. Yeah. I said, right, OK, he'll be terrified. He'll be absolutely terrified. He's got the mental age of a 10-year-old. He has no understanding.
Do you mind, Angie, before we go on, do you mind if, be careful here, because obviously family show and all that, but what is the tenor of what he said about, or is alleged to have said about Keir Starmer? Keep it clean.
Right, OK, yeah? No, there was no swear word, but it's basically somebody should, I'm not...
somebody should kill him or something like that, yeah?
Yeah, I mean,
like a kid might say,
Yeah, but
when you explained...
I said to the police, arrest me, because I can't stand Keir Starmer, and I've said a lot worse, and he's probably overheard me. I said, take me, we're talking about a man, a child in a man's body, basically.
Yeah, I get that. So when you explained, look, this is a guy, with the mental age of a 10-year-old, you know, what did the police say? Did they accept it? Did they then leave?
They then, no, so what they then said was, I'm going to speak to my sergeant.
Oh.
Now we know more about it. She, the sergeant, said, no, he's got to come in. So we had a real drama-rama.
You had to take him in?
Yeah, they let my husband, only one of us, could go in. And so they actually took him in. This all happened today, this afternoon.
Oh, my God. And so what's your boy's name again?
Oliver. And he is the sweetest. He is, you know, everybody loves him. He's, you know, everybody in our little village knows. Cause I don't actually live in Plymouth. We're sort of like a little village.
Yeah, sure.
And so anyway, so basically my husband went in with him. They were there for a couple of hours. They've let him out. But do you know what?
Did they drop it? They've dropped the case, have they, I hope?
Oh, no.
Oh, come on.
No, I kid you not. They have not dropped the case. But shall I tell you something? I'm a diehard royalist, okay? So we had a massive barbecue with all our people in the village, everybody in the street. They all came in. I had this beautiful 50s style Union Jack dress, which I was very proudly wore. We had this beautiful barbecue on the Friday of the Queen's Jubilee weekend, and we were very lucky because it's beautiful weather. I think it rains the rest of the time, so right. Anyway, we had these kids. We've got our back garden back onto field, and they threw bricks and stones. One of
what, are you going to say that the police didn't do anything about that?
They did not. Oh, apparently, because I said a few naughty words to one of the kids.
For God's sake. Let's go back to Oliver, Angie. So they haven't dropped the case. So what does he stand accused of? What are they saying? That he threatened the life of the Prime Minister or something?
Yes, which is something I do on a daily basis, but they haven't arrested him.
Careful, the cops will be... No, this is serious. This is serious. So the police have not... Basically, you and Oliver's dad obviously have said to the police, look, this is a guy with severe mental issues. You know, he has the mental age of a 10-year-old. You know, you can't really do this. And the police are still saying, where is it standing now? What are they saying? That he's got to come back? He may be charged or what? What are they saying?
Well, he's been released. He came back home tonight.
Yeah.
So he's with us now and he's safe.
So he was detained by the police?
He had to go in to do a statement with Steve, my husband.
Right.
You know, and...
So are they saying that he could still face charges or something?
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Well, I mean, when Steve said to them, look, you know, this guy is, you know, he's a special case. Surely, but they're saying, oh no.
Kevin, this is how innocent he is. Okay.
I get it, but go on, tell me.
He came in. He actually, when he walked into our front room, because Steve left me with the two police officers while he went in.
Yeah.
Oh, and one of the police officers ticked me off about my language. That was the best bit.
Of course.
I said, actually, do you know what? You're standing in my front room of my house. I will say, and if you tell me, you as a police officer, I've got plenty of friends police officers, have never said...
Yeah, don't say what you said.
Yeah, don't worry, I won't repeat it. But, you know, a couple of them's rhymed with duck. But, you know, I just...
I figured it was that, yeah.
You know, but I just, you know...
And how is Oliver, Angie? Is he okay?
He's okay. He's got, I mean, we've said now, you know, you can't have your laptop, you can't... So everything, you know, his room is his own little space.
So this you know, death threat to the Prime Minister, he put that online. Did he tweet it or...
I think he did it on Instagram.
Instagram, okay. So it's the Twitter police again, is it? Oh my God! I mean, so is this Plymouth police? Is this what we're talking about?
Yeah. Well, you know, but I mean, it's just, and then he accused me of being a racist. The police officer accused me of being racist because I said, I did say.
Careful now, careful. Go on.
I'm going to be careful, but I did say I don't believe if we had been a Muslim family that this would have happened.
So
then he said...
That's an interesting point to make, Angie. I know where you're coming from. So then the copper said you're being racist.
Sorry, mate, I worked in London for 8 years. I have got plenty of Muslim friends who are absolutely outraged by what's happened to us today. And,
but because you said that, the copper said that's a racist thing to say.
Yes.
What's it got to do with him? Unbelievable. Well, so the chance, the coppers, Plymouth Police, this case is still open and potentially Oliver could get charged.
Yes.
Have you got lawyers?
I did. Well, one of my other children, godmother is a top solicitor in the country. She's quite well known, actually.
Get a lawyer, Angie, right now. I know
they did offer us. To be fair to them, they said, "I said, our circumstances were wrong." You know.
Yeah, but you're in the mad world of woke police. Therefore, you're going to have to get a lawyer. But this is outrageous. This is absolutely outrageous.
And what makes me so angry is when there are real crimes going on. Nothing is done about it, and all I can say is, I said to Julia HB the other week, thank God for talkTV. That's all I can say.
Well,
and thank you. I do appreciate you having me on, and I thank you for all you do. But I just, we're just genuine, hardworking, decent, honest people. We've raised 6 beautiful children, and we've had this.
This is a disgrace, Angie. But listen, I hope people are listening to this. This is what's going on in this country. This is the curse of woke policing. It's ridiculous. 2-tier policing as well. This is a guy with the mental age of a 10-year-old, and they're trying to charge him. They still haven't dropped the case. This is just no common sense here. But just a bit of advice. I know they can cost money, but you said you've got a friend who might be able to help. You've got to get a lawyer. I think a good lawyer, even a bad lawyer, will get this case dropped almost instantly. You've got to get on the case, though, Angie, seriously. And I'm really sorry this has happened to you, and I really feel sorry for poor Oliver. Is he bearing up, though? He's okay, is he?
He's okay, yeah. He's got a large family around him. He's the youngest of 6, and like I say, yeah, we're absolutely fine, Kevin, and trust me, if they want to take it further, they want to carry on with this, that will be a day that they will regret, because I'm not letting this go.
No, you get a lawyer now, though, seriously, because these things can spin out of control. Unbelievable.
Yeah,
listen, Angie, I better go now, but thank you very much for telling us this shocking story. And my very best to Oliver and your husband. Thank you, Angie. I don't know what to say. I mean, for Christ's sake, it's just ridiculous, isn't it? These coppers. What's wrong with them? What is wrong with them? Plymouth Police, to be fair, I suppose we haven't got their side of the story. So that's Angie's story. Sounded like a pretty genuine story to me. Plymouth Police, if you're listening, very happy to hear your side of the story. If what Angie's saying is true, and sounds to me like she's a decent woman and is telling a true story, you need to drop this case, don't you? Be sensible. Come on. Go and get some real bad guys. I can't believe it, honestly. This country. Hell in a handcart. Angie from Plymouth there. Let's move on. Let's talk to John in Manchester. Hello, John.
Hello, good evening.
Hi. You want to talk about migrants? Yeah, you work in property, obviously. Yeah, go on.
I do. I'll just tell one of my stories which happened just a few days ago. Somebody came in wishing to take a property.
Yeah.
And they have to prove their identity and several other things and their ability to pay. So this person comes from another country.
Yeah.
Came here on a boat.
Yeah, of course.
Shows their ID. And funnily enough, a friend of mine was in the office who comes from the same country.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "You're younger than me, but your passport says you're in your 70s. Yeah. But pension. pension tax credits. So it transpires, the new zig, as I would call it, is they tell them an age. The age is over pensionable age here. Because they have not paid into the system, they can still get pension tax credit. When this person was given asylum in the country, they backdated the tax credits and they were going to receive a lump sum of £6,200.
Very nice.
Right? And, of course, everything's paid for and they don't have to work because they're on pension tax credit. Now, this is not unusual. I've had 2 or 3 this week, very, very similar, and they all, funnily enough, have the same date of birth. Now, I didn't realise this until just recently. They put them as the 1st of January. Whatever year they decide how old they are.
It's the first. Is that really? So, how often does this happen, John?
Probably twice a month.
So it's just a big scam going on all the time, yeah?
Yeah, because they know the system when they get here.
It's just typical, isn't it?
I've got somebody that should be over 100 years old. I've been doing this job nearly 50 years.
Unbelievable. But listen, John, it doesn't surprise me. Thank you for telling us. I've got to go now. I've got to go to a break, but this is so typical of this country, isn't it? Thanks very much for the call. That's John in Manchester. Let's go straight to a break now. Come back in a minute.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Because I spoke for so long to poor Angie from Plymouth, who told us the story about her son Oliver with the mental age of a 10-year-old who's been arrested for nasty words, hurty words about Keir Starmer and still faces charges. Extraordinary. But because I spoke to her for so long, I'm going to have to do something unconventional now. I've got to get another break in, so I'm going to play a quick WhatsApp voice note. This is from Claire in... she wants to talk about free gear, Keir, and all that free stuff for migrants. Take it away.
Evening, Kevin. Claire from the Wirral here. If people are coming into this country illegally and being fed and housed and kept warm and being given shoes and clothes and a mobile phone, a bike and the chance of social housing for sod all and the rest, like a doctor and dentist on call, then I'm not surprised that people are losing their moral compass. Seems those who trespass and break the law get a free pass. Lawlessness is now not outlawed, and why not join the ranks of the great unwashed? Seems we don't gain by being law-abiding, just end up paying for the throngs that aren't, and get looked down upon by our Marxist government as being far right. Thank you.
Well done, Claire. What a brilliant WhatsApp voice note that was. I'm amazed the way people can do that. I wouldn't be able to do that. I'd make a right mess of it, and I'm supposed to be a professional. Beautifully put, Claire. Great WhatsApp voice note. We're going to go straight now to another break and then a couple of calls, and then we'll talk to Andre Walker or Ash. Who knows? So still a few minutes to go. Stay where you are.
The investigators will be looking at obviously everything from weather conditions at the time to the experience of the pilots on board both the helicopter and the American Eagle flight itself. But they'll also be looking at whether the rules will need changing, because essentially in charge of operations is an air traffic controller, and you've heard various sound bites of the conversations in the run-up to the collision. But essentially the rules are given out and the instructions are given out by the air traffic controller.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. We're still with the phones. Ash will be in just a little while to tell you what him and Andre Walker have got lined up for you between 10 p.m. and 1 a.m. Should be a crackerjack show. But first, let's talk to Joseph in Christchurch, Dorset. Hello, Joseph. What would you like to say? You're talking about Farage being so angry about this cancellation of the local elections. I am too. How do you feel about it?
Oh, I'm very extremely upset, Kevin. Good evening, Kevin.
Hello, hi.
Sorry, I should have said that first. Yeah, I'm very extremely upset about that. It's just like it seems like they're trying to categorize all these different places, and they know full well where the full strength of you Reform UK will be, they targeted those specific places, obviously.
Those were so there's 29 local elections coming up. The 13 local elections that they've cancelled happen to be in areas where Reform UK were tipped to basically wipe out the other two parties. So you got Labour cancelling democracy, and in an unholy alliance, the Tories are supporting them. They're both trying to stick to the two-party system. They're terrified of the rise of reform.
Exactly. And, you know, since I was 17, since come out of care, and I've noticed this throughout, I'm 59 years old, and I've noticed this, either that one, or that one. There's never been ever a third one. Never.
Yeah, so the Lib Dems, but they're a joke. Yeah.
yeah. But there's never been a strong third one. And now there's a strong third one. They feel very, very challenged by this. Yeah. And so they should be. And so they should feel challenged, because it is a challenge to them.
They're terrified. They're terrified.
They're absolutely scared out of their boots.
Yeah, well, this isn't gonna wash, Joseph. You know, they're just putting off the inevitable. But I think it's disgraceful what they're doing. I mean, who the hell do they think they're kidding? Listen, Joseph, I've got to go because the show's just about to end. But it's good to talk to you. Please call me again. I'll be in tomorrow night, same time. Give me a bell then. We'll have a proper chat. But thank you for a good call. That's Joseph in Christchurch. And very quickly, because he's been hanging on half the night, let's talk to Jack in London. Jack, I asked people to ring in about female football players, because I discussed with Dr. Renee, the latest player to be banned for challenging an opponent because they were a bloke. What are your feelings on this?
It doesn't affect me as a straight white bloke, if you like, but I spent a lot of time in women's football over the years at quite a high level, and I won't say where, but I find it absolutely outrageous that we've got these trans women that want to play in women's teams.
Well, did you say trans women? Let's call them what they are, men. They're men.
I was saying that to lead into my next point, was where are the trans men? Where is the people coming the other way?
They never do. They never do.
Be men. Yeah, but is there one? Has ever one existed?
Well, no, because
I don't know of one.
Yeah, you see, the whole trans sports in sport, the issue's very dodgy. Because as you say, you never see them going the other way. You always see them coming from the feet. Yeah. It's failed blokes.
Failed male athletes.
Yeah.
And they just want to try and
Jack.
Be a woman, and they're taking women's spaces, and it's absolutely not right. I mean, it doesn't affect me, as I say, I'm a man, but. You know, I've got daughters, I've got a wife, and I don't want these people.
And it does affect female footballers, though, because, you know, they shouldn't have to play blokes. Blokes are stronger, faster. It's just all wrong. It's not fair. Jack, I couldn't agree with you more. I've got to move on now because the show's almost over, but very, very good call. I'm glad I got round to talking to you. Call me any time. Jack in London there. Ash is in the studio. Hello, mate.
All right, how was the show, man? Good?
It was a very good show. A lot of anger about the cancellations.
Exactly. I heard a bit of that with Isabel, and unbelievable. They just like sort of postpone democracy. This is like, you know,
cancelling it.
Putin sort of territory, isn't it? I mean,
it's because they can't stand the idea, or they can't face the fact that they're going to get absolutely hammered.
Well, it's actually worse than Putin. He has the election, all right, he fixes it so he wins, but he'd never cancel it, would he?
That's true. You get better democracy in Russia under Putin than here in Britain.
Well, less people get put in prison for online comments in Russia, about a tenth of what we put in.
They don't call him Keir Stalin for nothing. What you got coming up, Rash?
We've got Lois McClatchy-Miller, political commentator, and Phil Day. We're talking about £4 million on clothing for the migrants. What sort of clothes?
£3,000 a day.
I mean, what sort of clothes? I want to know what sort of clothes they're
are they designer label?
Yeah, they must be. You know, all nice. It's probably Lord Ali buying them 6 pairs of glasses and suits.
But you see, so we knew we were paying for their accommodation, their hotels, their food, their lawyers, their doctors, their dentists. We knew we were paying for all of that. Now we're paying for their bloody wardrobe.
And we don't get anything like dentistry or GP stuff.
Exactly.
Shoplifting, you know, it's unbelievable now. Everyone just sees it and walking out. Non-crime hate incidents are back. Fantastic.
Oh, no,
So
yeah, that's good, isn't
you
it?
just say someone said something and then you get not arrested but taken away and things logged and you're not allowed to know and it can all just be made up, but that's it.
Yeah, I think we should all sue the police every time you get a non